Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are Wisconsin.
Welcome back to Chicago, Illinois, where the Brewers road trip continues against the Chicago Cubs. Historic Wrigley Field is the scene here this afternoon. The Brewers hoping to sweep the Cubs, and based on yesterday's offense, they have a good chance. 4 home runs for Milwaukee in yesterday's contest, 2 from Ryan Braun, and that helped pace the pitching from Aat CHN. 7 shutout innings as the Brewers win it 7-0, and they pick up a much-needed game in the standings against Chicago. Only 2 back now to open up play. St. Louis right behind at 4. It's going to be fun here in the Central Division before all things are said and done. Hi, everybody. Craig Kashan and Dan Plesac in the booth again here this afternoon, and we're 1-0 so far together, trying to make it 2-0, my friend.
Amazing how 24 hours, everything looks so much better, right? A tough loss Sunday in Atlanta for the Brew Crew. The Cubs coming off that great win Sunday night. Not sure what to get. All of a sudden, the Brew Crew win game 1. They win it emphatically, and all of a sudden, sweep here, win this one here, get it down to 1 game, and it looks really good for the Brew Crew. Yeah,
it's all about the offense right now for Milwaukee as well. Those 4 home runs in yesterday obviously helps set the pace for this team right now. A 7-0 victory. But Dan, the last 2 games alone, the Brewers have pounded out 30 hits.
And I think this is the recipe that the Brew Crew are going to need the rest of the way out. Bullpen a little bit beleaguered, though. Corey Knebel was good yesterday. Big day from Ryan Braun, his first 2 at-bats. And Eric Kratz hit the big home run yesterday. 2 2-run home runs from Ryan Braun, Lorenzo Cain. The Brew Crew offense flexed its muscles yesterday and took care of this one early.
Well, they had the season-high 7 runs to 4 home runs, 5 earned runs against Jose Quintana. That's the most the Brewers have ever gotten off of him in a Cubs uniform, and the first time with 3 straight shutouts by this Brewer pitching staff. That's how this series has gone. It all adds up to a much-needed victory and a statement game, according to Ryan Braun.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to stay in the division race, I think you had to win 1 of 2. Ideally, you got to win both. These guys are really good. You obviously didn't want to leave here down 5 games. And I know we have 4 or 5 less games on our schedule than them, so every win is of the utmost importance. So. I think it was important to get off to a good start. Locaine set the tone, getting a couple runs off of him early because obviously he's had so much success against us. So, he's obviously a great pitcher. He's had so much success in this league, and I'm sure in facing us, he's always been really comfortable. So it was important for us to get off to a good start for sure.
Well, Ryan Braun has certainly led the way by example in the month of August. He is having a stellar month. In fact, the last 16 games alone, Dan, he's hitting at a .388 clip right now. Not pressured to play every day. These days off are certainly helping Ryan Braun.
Listen, this team has been carried. Yelich, Cain, and Junior and Jesus have been terrific. And they're looking for Ryan Braun to come through. This is an experienced guy. He's going to go down as one of the more decorated Brewers to ever put on a uniform. So they're going to need some help. And Ryan Braun looks healthy. And if yesterday's 2 home run performance is anything what's to come the next 6 to 8 weeks, it lengthened out the Brewers lineup. He looked terrific yesterday.
Well, Chicago is Ryan Braun's kind of town in his career against the Cubs. A .324 clip, 35 home runs, 124 RBIs for him. And he's back in that lineup again today. And that sets the stage for our pitching matchup. It's Junior Guerra on the mound against Kyle Hendricks. Hendricks is hot right now. He's won 5 of his last 6. Junior Guerra doesn't have the win totals to match how well he's pitched.
You know, Kyle Hendricks, he's kind of a Greg Maddux light. He's not an overpowering guy. He sinks the ball. 2-seam, 4-seam fastball, great changeup. A lot like Junior Guerra, they need to be around the strike zone, much like Aat CHN was yesterday, using and mixing in the off-speed pitches, disguising the fastballs that neither one of these 2 guys have blazing fastballs. The key is making 91, 92 look 94, 95. How do you do that? Get your off-speed stuff over.
All right, good stuff, Dan Plesac. We're going to step aside, come back with more, talk more pitching when we send it back to the studio. Corey Knebel, outstanding on the mound in yesterday's game. Dario and Augie will tell us why that's important right now for him and the Brewers moving forward.
Milwaukee Brewers baseball on Fox Sports Wisconsin is brought to you by Hupy and Abraham. Voted best, rated best. Hupy and Abraham, tell them you mean business. By Miller Lite, great taste and only 96 calories. And by Menards, save big money at Menards and all your home improvement needs.
Canes thinking 2 all the way at least. And there is no doubt about it.
Baez whistles one in the gap in right center.
Vaughn hits one hard into right field, and
Home run, Christian Yelich.
What a gorgeous summer afternoon here at the friendly confines, Wrigley Field in Chicago. And a special visit here at Wrigley Field from the U.S. Navy Leapfrogs, bringing in the flag for the national anthem just moments ago here at Wrigley Field. Good afternoon, everyone. Sophia Minard here at Wrigley Field. And yesterday, the Brewers took game 1 of this short 2-game series. Thanks to some tremendous pitching by Jhoulys Chacín. It was 7 shutout innings for him, giving up just 3 hits as a season-high 10 strikeouts. Ryan Braun and Lorenzo Cain provided some offense as well. And now it's the task of Junior Guerra to follow up what has already been a very successful run against this Cubs lineup. We take a look at what Junior Guerra has been able to do against the Cubs in 2 previous starts. In his career, he's started 5 times against them, a 1-1 record, a 1.74 earned run average. On the season so far, he's given up just 2 earned runs to the Cubs, 1 earlier this year in April at Wrigley, and 1 at home in June in Miller Park. 10 strikeouts for him against the Cubs lineup as well. Junior Guerra looks to follow up that success this afternoon.
I just think be deep in the game, throw a strike, and control my fastball. I think that's the case for pitch good games. No, I think every game is important right now because this part of the season. Yeah, we're behind, but I think we got a really good team for win these games. But I think the key is go deep in the game and get a chance to get some run to the team.
Of Junior Guerra's 10 quality starts on the season, 2 of them have come against the Chicago Cubs. He's given up just 1 run in each of his last 2 starts against them. So as we go up to our game announcers, Craig Kashan and Dan Plesac, guys, it's been a great series of pitching. Jhoulys Chacín last night, Corey Knebel gave them a great inning as well. And with the off day tomorrow, you know Craig Counsell has some options in terms of how he wants to use Junior Guerra and also the options in the bullpen as they look to take game 2 here this afternoon.
Absolutely, Sophia. And even the threat of rain, really, at this point, it's okay because the Brewers have the entire bullpen really to turn to if this turns into be a long afternoon here in Chicago. But bottom line in this season series, of which the Cubs lead 8-4, in 8 of those 12 games, Dan, there have been shutouts. The last 3, more importantly, by Milwaukee pitching.
It's been a lot of feast or famine. It doesn't make a lot of sense because these are 2 very high-powered offenses. Kyle Hendricks, a control-type guy, sinker, slider guy, and Junior Guerra going to need him to be down in the strike zone. You take a look at the series. The Cubs so far, the better, 8-4 the 12 times they've matched up. But you look at the ERA, it's pretty good, 2.63. You would think with a 2.63 ERA, you'd be a lot better than 4-8, but it is what it is. Brewers able to win game 1 of this short 2-game set yesterday. They would feel really good about themselves getting on a plane, having a day off in St. Louis tomorrow, in a big series beginning Friday in St. Louis.
Yeah, it is a huge week here for Milwaukee. The Cubs game 2 here today, then on to St. Louis. A lot of Central Division foes on the way. Joe Madden knows all about that. Craig Counsell can't wait to get her going here. Neither can we. Clash for the Central game 2 starts next.
That's how you start a ball game. And a strikeout for Chachin. Look at that one fly. Second home run. Perez, strong throw in time. They're now 2 games behind in the Central Division race. Everything going well for the Brewers yesterday. Game 2 here. Craig Kishon, Dan Plesac, Sophia Minert on the sidelines again here today from Wrigley Field. Our producer is Dan Keener. Adam Bryant is our director. Great to have you aboard here this afternoon. There's a threat of rain, but the sun is out here, so it looks picture perfect for baseball right now. Craig Counsell and the Brewers hoping to get a sweep here in this quick 2-game afternoon series against the Chicago Cubs. And the batting order for Craig Counsell today, presented by Potawatomi. It's going to be Christian Yelich, top of the order. Then Lorenzo Cain, Mike Moustakas will bat third. Ryan Braun in the cleanup role. Travis Shaw, Jonathan Scope, Eric Thames, Manny Pena, and Junior Guerra. So lefty, righty all the way down that lineup. And on the mound for Chicago, they will face Kyle Hendricks, making his 25th start, Dan.
Not an overpowering guy. He reminds you a little bit of Greg Maddux, sinker slider guy. Great changeup, needs to be around the plate. One of the things he's not going to do, it will be in attack mode early on. His secondary pitches are a must for him to survive. He needs that good curveball. Changeup is more than likely his best pitch. You look at his numbers on the year, 8-9 with an ERA just over 4. A very consistent pitcher. And the Cubs defensively will set it up behind Kyle Hendricks. A little bit different than it was yesterday. Kyle Schwarber in left, Albert Elmora Jr. in center field. David Bodie hit the big grand slam Sunday night. Addison Russell, Javi Baez at second. Anthony Rizzo and Wilson Contreras behind the plate for the Cubs.
All right, take a look at our umpires. Behind the plate is the crew chief, Tom Hallian. Ryan Blankney over at first. Dan Bellino at second, and Phil Cuzzi over at third base today. Phil Cuzzi busy yesterday, tossing out Ben Zobrist and Joe Madden. And nothing going right for the Cubs, obviously, in yesterday's game. In fact, Dan, they had a hitters meeting yesterday. They're trying to get their offense going. You have a hitters meeting, and then you get shut out. That's not a good 1-2 punch.
No, sometimes the best laid plans don't work at all. And getting back to Ben Zobrist, the comments after the game, I guess what he had mentioned to Phil Cuzzi, what eventually got him tossed from the game, Craig, was he said now that pitches like that are why we're looking forward to an electronic strike zone someday.
Woo. That draws some oohs and ahs from the media in that Cubs clubhouse yesterday and across baseball. All right, we're ready for game 2 here. Hendricks out of the mound for the Cubs. Full windup, and the pitch to Christian Yelich is slapped foul.
Attack mode again, early swinging. I think one of the keys for Kyle Hendricks, you'll see, much like Greg Maddux brought that fastball that they'll throw at the inside, the left-hander, at Christian Yelich's hip and try to bring that ball back in towards home plate. It's a very effective pitch, and a pitch that he needs to be effective.
Christian Yelich, some good numbers on the season as he takes strike 2. Yelich at .310 with 18 home runs and 60 RBIs. Had a hit in his last plate appearance yesterday. Was 1 for 5 officially. The 0-2 drops low. Yelich was off to that tremendous month-long run offensively, and on this road trip has cooled off. 2 for 18 so far in this road trip through Atlanta and Chicago. And he strikes out to lead off the first for Milwaukee here today.
Steady diet of off-speed pitches. One fastball early on that Yelich yanked right down the foul line for a little bit of foul. There you see the circle changeup grip. One of the weapons that you'll see exclusively this afternoon to the left-handed hitters. A pitch that he desperately needs to be successful.
So Hendricks records the first out via the strikeout, and Lorenzo Cain taking his time in the batter's box. Gets himself set. And the first pitch is a strike from Hendricks. Lorenzo Cain, his 101st start in center field today, an all-star for Milwaukee this season. Fouls one off to the right side, and he's been on a roll over his last 7 games, batting a .412 clip for Lorenzo Cain. Started back on that
homestand and has continued on this road trip so far. And one by one, somebody is remaining hot in that lineup for Milwaukee. The 0-2 to Kane outside, a ball and 2 strikes. Hendricks delivers, and a couple of strikeouts to open up the ball game.
Another off-speed pitch from Kyle Hendricks. A little slow curveball in the outer half, 78 miles an hour. Steady diet of up, down, in and out. There's the grip. 4-seam. That's a circled changeup with a little bit of cutting action. Not sure that ball was meant to cut like that. Normally that 4-seam circle change is meant to come back down and in. Gets away with one as it cuts down and away from low Kane.
There's Mike Moustakas, 2 down. He bats third today. 17th game with Milwaukee. Batting .286 with 2 home runs and 9 RBIs as a Brewer. Great addition for Milwaukee, coming over from Kansas City before the trade deadline. Down a strike.
We were talking, Greg, in the pregame. The first pitch, Moustakas swinging a little bit late. You see 88 back-to-back 88-mile-an-hour fastball is one of the keys we touched on. Making Kyle Hendricks and making Junior Guerra disguising their fastballs, making them look like they're much more than they are. The key to that, command of the off-speed pitches. So far, so good for Kyle Hendricks.
Hendricks has been outstanding here at Wrigley Field in his career, a 2.73 ERA, which is the 5th lowest in the history of this ballpark, with a minimum of 50 starts, that is. And he's throwing nothing but strikes the Brewers' way so far. Moustakas fouls another one away.
Interesting note. He was acquired a few years ago for a guy that's singing the "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" 7th inning stretch. Ryan Dempster. Acquired for Ryan Dempster in a trade with the Texas Rangers a few years ago at the trade deadline.
That worked out pretty well for the Cubs, didn't it? Kyle Hendricks in his 5th year as a Chicago Cub. Moustakas high pop up, and it's going to fall in. And it got lost in the sun out there by Russell.
Not wearing any shades or sunglasses. A little overcast, but the sun up behind us, behind the home plate. You can see Russell. He was fighting this one right from the get-go, trying to shade with his glove.
Well, sometimes when you see a player put up his glove, he's got the ball, and I don't think he ever saw it. And so it's going to be a base hit for Moustakas. Russell never had a beat on it. So a 1-out single. Here's Ryan Braun batting cleanup. There's a strike to Ryan Braun. We talked about Ryan Braun in our open today. Over the last 16 games, 4 home runs and 12 RBIs, a .388 clip, and of course yesterday, the 2 home runs here at Wrigley Field. Some impressive numbers in his career, not just against the Cubs, but in this ballpark as well.
In a series, a short 2-game set that means so much for the Brewers. 2 games behind the Cubs on August 15th. We're halfway through the month. Catch a break on a pop-up that Addison Russell loses in the high sky. Be advantageous if Ryan Braun and the Brew Crew could take advantage of that blunder.
Braun down 2 strikes now to Hendricks. Not a hard thrower, and you're seeing that blend of his pitches early here in the 1st inning. Here's the 0-2. And to short this time, and they'll take the lead runner at second. So the Brewers get a hit. No runs, though. Here come the Cubs in the 1st at Wrigley. Another sellout here as we are just underway, the Brewers and the Cubs. Chicago coming to bat now. Manager Joe Maddon only lasted about, 5 or 6 innings yesterday before he got tossed, arguing balls and strikes. Fourth season as the Cubs skipper, and he'll have Javi Baez leading off today. Anthony Rizzo had captured that role for more than a month. It's going to be Baez today as his team looking for some offense. Then Jason Hayward. David Bodie gets the start at third. He was Sunday's hero. Anthony Rizzo back cleanup. Elmora Jr. the center fielder. Schwarber out in left. Contreras the catcher, and Hendricks bats 8th. Addison Russell 9th. There's Junior Guerra out on the hill, start number 23.
See the ERA of 3.40. Hopefully able to piggyback off the beautiful performance yesterday from Yoeli Chacin. 7 scoreless innings. Guerra not an overpowering guy, 3-pitch guy. 4-seam, 2-seam fastball, good slider. His best off-speed pitch might be the split changeup. If he has those working, he should have a fine afternoon.
Here's Guerra to Baez, and he misses low on his first pitch. Baez with 89 RBIs, that leads the National League and tied for the 3rd most in the majors right now. And I mentioned this Cubs team is looking to get their offense cranked up. Sunday they were being shut out until that grand slam at the bottom of the 9th with 2 outs, wins it 4-3. Then they had the Monday off, and then yesterday the Brewers shut them out 7-0. They had that hitters meeting yesterday and then get shut out. So Joe Maddon mixing up the batting order a bit today. They go with their heavy hitter Baez, who swings and misses there.
You know, it's hard to go back-to-back days, but if you're Junior Guerra and watch the way that Yoeli Chacin went about his work yesterday, this pitch was very big, off-speed pitch, very free swinging. The one knock against his Cub team, a powerful team, but it is a lineup that at times can be very swing and miss prone.
Dan, what's the starter get like Guerra watching Yoeli Chacin and charting? How does that help him today against the same team?
I think what it does too, Greg, if you're watching and paying attention, particularly early on, you can see the reaction. The Cub hitters are very aggressive. Javi Baez, you want to try to read a swing, and that pitch right there to me is a guy at Baez that's very aggressive with 2 strikes. Expand the strike zone if you can.
High fly ball in the infield. Pena calling for it, and now Moustakas comes in. Much easier catch for him coming in from third. He was in good position. There's your first out.
Brings a good glove with him. I know the big bat. Talking about gloves, let's take a look at the Brew Crew defensively. Ryan Braun, Lorenzo Cain, Christian Yelich, Mike Moustakas, a new guy, Jonathan Scope at short, Travis Shaw, the mayor of Ding Dong City, Eric Thames, and Manny Pena behind the plate.
There's Jason Hayward with 1 out for Chicago here in the first inning. There's Jonathan Scope. And Brewers putting on their shift on the left-handed hitter. So Scope will go into shallow right in the grass. And Moustakas plays up close on the grass in between second and third. Junior Guerra falls behind 2-0. Junior Guerra in his last start Thursday against San Diego, he suffered that tough non-decision team loss. 6 strong innings for him, only 2 earned runs given up, and then they had that collapse the day they went on the road trip. And nice play by Thames. He flips to Guerra in time for the out. What a play by Eric Thames, diving along the foul line, and a quick flip to the Brewer pitcher, Junior Guerra.
Boy, in a year where Eric Thames has bounced around a little bit defensively, some right field mixed in. This is a terrific play right here. Reads this right off of the bat. This had double written all over it, and a nice job, too, by Junior Guerra to get over there and cover. You can see full extension. This is at least a double. You never know when the ball caroms off that hard wall down the right field line. A good flip, and you can see Guerra there in time and able to touch the bag with the right toe. Great play on both ends.
There's David Bodie, Sunday's hero who hit the grand slam, playing over at third base today. It's like a Brett Favre flip for a touchdown near the goal line, wasn't it?
It's terrific. You know what, and I think one of the keys of that is he was able to get rid of the ball early enough One of the more difficult things for a pitcher when you're going over to cover first base, you get a late throw or a hard throw either at your feet or at your head. He was able to get the ball out of his glove, and as a pitcher, you're able to pick up the ball in a great toss, and a good job by Junior Guerra to get over there in time.
And this one punched in a left to base hit on the 2-0 count. So Junior Guerra's fallen behind with the batters early in this first inning. There's the first hit. And Bodie, of course, was the hero on Sunday. Bodie's been up and down for the minors all year, but this was one to remember. Down 3-0, bases loaded, and he hits a grand slam on a 2-strike pitch and puts Wrigleyville in pandemonium.
Not a bad pitch either from Ryan Madsen, and if you believe like what you saw there, might be a good low ball hitter. One of the problems that inning, Ryan Madsen had difficulty getting his changeup and curveball over. Turned himself into a 1-pitch pitcher, 2-ball, 2-strike count. David Bodie a swing for the record books for the Cubs.
That was his first grand slam, first walk-off. A lot of energy from this guy filling in for Chris Bryant while he works his way back from the disabled list. Bryant taking some live batting practice yesterday from Yu Darvish as they both try to get back on track. This one hit hard. Ryan Braun looks up, and it's out of here. A line drive home run just over the basket. And the Cubs surprise Junior Guerra as Rizzo goes the other way.
Tight, compact swing from Anthony Rizzo. Big, strong guy down at the end of the barrel right here. 93-mile-an-hour fastball sinking away. You can tell the ball is carrying really well. You can tell by his reaction right there. He thinks that Ryan Braun has a beat on this one. It just continues to go and go and go, and it's into the basket.
I think Ryan Braun was hoping that would sail on this side of the basket and go off the wall. And it just went over the top. Not even going into the stand. So it's 2-0 Chicago. They strike first. And this one to short, Scope. And there's your final out with a stretch by Thames. It's the Anthony Rizzo home run, and the Cubs lead it 2-0.
Taking a 2-0 lead on Anthony Rizzo's home run off of Junior Guerra. And the Cubs, Brewers, and Cardinals are all within 4 games of each other here in the NL Central. And Craig Counsell said, really, the National League, you feel like when you look at the standings, you feel like it's just wide open. And so the Cubs and the Brewers will meet 6 more times in September after the conclusion of this series. He said, obviously, these games are important, he said, and you look at the National League as a whole, there just aren't many teams that are out of it. So he said, certainly the stress level is going to go up, but the fun level also goes up. And he said, over the last 2 years as an organization, this is where you want to put yourself. You want to put yourself in the position where these games in late August and September mean so much, and you're trying to put yourself into the playoffs. So that's certainly what Craig Counsell had to say about the standings and what the series means here overall as the Brewers get ready to head to St. Louis for another 3-game series.
And I think what's complicated two things, Sophia, has been the St. Louis Cardinals. They've been resurgent the last couple of weeks. Winners of 7 games in a row. Matt Carpenter has been on fire. Their starting pitching has been much better. Shaping up to be quite a 3-team race.
Travis Shaw bats here to lead off the second for Milwaukee, and of course St. Louis is making that managerial change, firing Mike Matheny, Mike Shield in there now. 18-9 since that change, so that sparked that team for sure. As Travis Shaw is out on the off speed from Hendricks.
Another swing and a miss. Wilson Contreras a little bit fooled by that. Inning 1, a couple of straight changeups that Kyle Hendricks threw that were intended to be down and away, and the ball kind of had some cutting action on it. It'll be interesting right now. This is the guy we were talking about, Jonathan Schoop. Brewers fans have not seen the best of this. Got a chance to watch him quite a bit over the last couple of years. Off to a little bit of a slow start. This guy's a really good player. And as talking about that, this is our Pizza Ranch guy we need to get going, right, Craig?
That's right. We've been saying that for a while with this guy, but you know, you've had a chance, and the only way he's going to get a chance is to play. But as you mentioned, you have seen him over the last several years with your work at the MLB Network over in the American League side with the Baltimore Orioles. And what we've seen so far in this deal, obviously, this is why the Brewers made this change. What type of player will we see when he gets his bat going?
He's a terrific player. And I think one of the things that's making a little bit difficult transition for him, not being penciled into that lineup every day. Buck Showalter, that double play combination with Jonathan Schoop and Manny Machado in Baltimore. A lot of people thought it was one of the top double play combos, not only in the glove, but with the bat. And I think there's a little bit of uneasiness, unfamiliarity coming into the ballpark. Not sure if his name is going to be penciled in the lineup. Yesterday, Hernan Perez played second base, and Schoop has been predominantly an everyday guy since he was called up with the big leagues with the Baltimore Orioles. So a little bit different scenery. We talked about it. Adam Jones, there was talk at the trading deadline that the Phillies were interested in Adam Jones. He decided to nix that deal, being a 5 and 10 guy, because he didn't want a platoon in center field. So that's a little bit different from Jonathan Schoop, not knowing that he's going to be penciled in that lineup from day to day.
So different role may have something to do with it, to be sure. Well, here's Eric Thames now, 2 down, and Hendricks is dealing right now.
Yeah, he's a pretty liberal strike zone too right there. That ball looked like it was a little bit off the plate. I know the Cub hitters were complaining yesterday that Yoeli Chacín's strike zone was a little bit wide.
A quick inning for Hendricks. The Brewers go 1-2-3. 4 strikeouts so far in the game. 2-0 Chicago. Brewers host the Reds this coming Monday, August 20th, and all fans can grab a $6 Loge or terrace level tickets for the contest exclusively through the MLB Ballpark app. This special offer expires tomorrow at 11:59 p.m. so be sure to log in to the Ballpark app and lock in your discounted seats before time is up. Big road trip. Brewers trying to finish up strong in a pennant race. $6 for a ticket to get into Miller Park cannot be beat.
You've got a weekend series coming up in St. Louis, right? I believe I'm off Monday. Maybe I can meet you outside Miller Park.
I think that would work.
Have a cold one, a couple of brats, and cheer on the Brew Crew.
We may have to borrow you for a pregame hit before you dive into that Miller Lite, though.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Energy level will be high, though. I can guarantee you that, right?
Yeah, because it's really low right now. You need to pick it up, please, Zach.
I'm on it.
Here's Contreras. I should say Schwarber. Base hit up the middle to lead things off for the Cubs. That's 3 hits, and they put the ball in play against Junior Guerra so far.
There you see the split change grip. This ball intended to be down and away, hangs out over the middle of the plate. Full extension, and Schwarber hits it right back up the middle. Leadoff base hit. Cubs coming out swinging. They're in aggressive mode, similar to what the Brewers were yesterday against Jose Quintana.
Here's Contreras. Good season for him. 271, 9 home runs, and 41 RBIs. Got a runner at first, nobody down. First pitch. And the Brewers trying to turn it and do the 5-4-3 double play. And there is a pitcher's best friend right there for Junior Guerra. You feel like he needed that one early.
Doing a great job there, and a good turn by Mike Moustakas. First pitch swinging Contreras. 2-hopper. Moose gets enough. And a good throw and a nice turn over to Eric Thames at first. In the glove, out of the glove. Great exchange and an easy turn. And Travis Shaw looking like he's been at second base his entire career. Smooth 5-4-3 double play.
Kyle Hendricks, the pitcher, with 2 down. Well, that was Shaw's biggest concern, and you can certainly imagine making that switch to second base. Had never played there before, and it's all about the turn to make sure that double play works.
You know, the day and age now with so much shifting that you can afford to play a guy. He's a bigger guy. Move him around the diamond a little bit. The new wave of thinking where pretty much positioning where you believe that the Cub hitters, where they'll hit the ball on the ground. Look very smooth in that transition. What helps, a really good feed from Mike Moustakas. A nice chest high throw made it easy. You think of Shaw and more straight up conventional with Kyle Hendricks up.
And Junior Guerra with that double play strikes out Hendricks, and a quick inning as it turns out. So the Brewers 2-0 as we go to the top of the 3rd. On FS1, first the Orioles take on Francisco Lindor and the AL Central leading Indians. Then Ryan Braun and the Brewers battle Matt Carpenter and the Cardinals. Coverage begins at 2 o'clock on FS1 or stream it live on the Fox Sports app. A lot of great baseball on the way, and Hendricks back out on the mound. And through 2 innings so far, this guy is throwing strikes. 4 balls and 22 strikes. 6 of the first 7 batters he's faced, first pitch strikes.
You know, one of the keys, we touched on it in the open, command of the off-speed pitches. Not an overpowering guy. Best fastball so far today has been 89 miles an hour, but take a look at the last 3 starts. ERA a little bit inflated at 3.86, but the good 1-loss record at 2-0. His changeup is good so far today. Command of the curveball, key for his success, disguising that 88 to 91 miles an hour and making it appear to be better than it actually is with the off speed.
Here's Manny Pena, the Brewer catcher, to lead off inning number 3, and again Hendricks delivers a strike on that first pitch. Pena 239 with 6 home runs and 19 RBIs. A defensive swing there on that inside pitch. Catches his bat. So he's down 0-2. Pena left the game on Sunday in Atlanta early. Took a hard foul ball. And Monday to rest, and then yesterday Eric Kratz caught for Milwaukee. So he's rested and ready to go at it for the Brewers here today. One of the more dependable backstops in all of baseball. And Pena strikes out, so Hendricks another strikeout for him. Here in the 3rd inning, his 5th already.
He's been in attack mode, and he's really disguised. There it is, the circle changeup. That's been the bread and butter, the go-to pitch. Late sinking action on it. Has Manny Pena the barrel of the bat way out in front of it. He's one of those guys, you have a kind of like when you talk about Greg Maddux moving the ball up, down, in and out. You look up at the scoreboard when he's pitching well, and you'll hear hitters often talk around the cage. He was a very comfortable 0 for 3, 1 for 4. Certainly not overpowering. There's an 85-mile-an-hour fastball. So if we've seen back-to-back days between Jose Quintana, Yoeli Chacín, and Kyle Hendricks so far, you don't need to throw it 95 to 98. Changing speeds and moving the ball up, down, and in and out.
Junior Guerra grounds out. 2 down here in the 3rd inning. So top of the order now in Christian Yelich. Hendricks has struck out the leadoff hitter in each inning so far here this afternoon.
I was talking to some of the Cub people, Jim DeSays, earlier this afternoon, and fine broadcaster for the Cubs, and a lot of people think that Hendricks has pitched well the last couple of weeks since the acquisition of Cole Hamels. John Lesser was kind of the guy that was carrying the mail for the rotation. Kyle Hendricks a little bit up and down, maybe feeling a little bit of pressure of having a number 2 guy in the rotation. Cole Hamels has been a great addition. There's a good look at Cole Hamels. Wasn't pitching all that particularly well with the Texas Rangers. There were a lot of teams. The Brewers were another one of the teams that were supposedly linked to possibly acquiring Cole Hamels. He's had 3 really good starts for the Cubs, and a lot of people around Wrigley think that Kyle Hendricks has thrown better with the acquisition of Cole Hamels.
It's amazing how a good player can make the rest of your team that much better. An immediate influence. He's 2-0 with a 1 ERA. And the team has won all 3 of his starts.
I think getting back to the National League was what this guy needed. You can say what you want about the difference in the AL, the DH. Tough ballpark to pitch in Texas.
Yelich singles into left field.
And it's always easier as a starting pitcher going through that pitching spot, particularly pitching in National League ball games.
Here's a look at a new city, a new Cole, maybe so. Record with the Rangers, you mentioned it, Dan, not great. High ERA, much difference in the limited time he's been here, but an immediate impact to be sure.
And sometimes a change of scenery, even though you've been around for a while. For Cole Hamels, he spent most of his years World Series MVP, great postseason in 2008 when the Phillies won the whole thing. He's been a terrific pitcher. Last year and a half, he's battled some injuries. But boy, he has been as advertised for the Cubs. 7 innings of 1-run ball against the Nationals in his last start. 9 strikeouts. Command issues seem to be solved. He's attacking the strike zone. And one of the big keys, he's gone away from that cutter and has gone more fastball changeup, which is his best pitch.
Here's Lorenzo Cain batting with the runner at first, 2 down here in the Brewer third. He struck out his first time up. Well, Hendricks started to get in his own groove before Hamels arrived. He's won 5 of his last 6. And he beat the Brewers back on April 26 here, 7 shutout innings. It's one of those shutout victories. 8 of the 12 games in this season series between these two have resulted in a shutout for the losing team.
Oh, you can tell by that last swing from Lorenzo Cain. There's a lot of movement. Even Jose Contreras has had a difficult time. The ball is moving and darting, and that was an 86-mile-an-hour fastball. Lorenzo Cain reacted to it like it was 95 to 98 miles an hour. He lulls you to sleep with that straight changeup and that slow curveball.
Here's the 0-2. This is outside.
That's the best we've seen of his fastball so far early on here as we're in the top of the 3rd inning. 87, 88 tops. Changeup has been good. Curveball has been good. And he needs those two because 87, 88, unless it's really well located, will get knocked around a little bit.
The 1-2 to Cain. Slow roller to third. Barehanded play. And Bodie gets him. What a play by the Chicago Cub third baseman. He can hit and he can field. And that barehanded play here was the go-to play, and he just does get Lorenzo Cain. Half a step. Brewers taking a look at it and have decided not to challenge.
Sports Wisconsin is brought to you by Miller Lite. Great taste and only 96 calories. And by Toyota. Let's go places.
Chicago River here downtown Chicago. The Brewers in Chicago for a couple of days here. Day off tomorrow in St. Louis before they start a series there. They trail 2-0 as Junior Guerra goes to work here in the bottom of the 3rd inning, facing Addison Russell, the Cubs shortstop in the number 9 spot. Guerra, a quick 2nd inning, very efficient using that double play. 8-pitch inning for him. He did give up 2 first-inning runs on the home run from Rizzo, however. It's been a home run producing series. 9 total runs so far, 8 of them via the home run.
Another good sinking fastball there from Junior Guerra. 94 miles an hour. Take a look at the season numbers on Addison Russell. A little bit of a disappointment. 2016 was such a big year. The Cubs won the whole thing, beat the Indians in Game 7 of the World Series. Offensive production has been down the last year and a half.
Being consistent is the hardest thing to do as a professional athlete, isn't it?
It is, and it can be a little bit more difficult here playing for the Cubs when you have a lot of the day games, the 120 games like this afternoon. You come in some late hours, the day game after night game can be a little bit difficult, taxing on your body.
Little roller to Guerra that he takes care of for the first out.
With the exception of the one pitch to Anthony Rizzo, the 2-run home run, Junior Guerra has been very sharp, very crisp, good velocity, 92 to 94, good sinking action. We've seen a couple of good split changeups. Hasn't had to throw the hard slider very often. He's looked really sharp with the exception of the one pitch to Anthony Rizzo.
Here's Baez, top of the order. So Joe Madden moved his lineup around a bit, and it paid off in the opening frame as Rizzo hit that home run. This one punched all the way down the right field line, and a fair ball into the corner. Baez going to turn second on his way to third base, and a stand-up one-out triple for Javi Baez here in the third inning.
In a year where Javi Baez has really put all things together, big power and hanging breaking ball right here that he hits down the right field line. Christian Yelich does a good job getting it to it. It caroms high off the wall, bounces around a little bit. You see Baez wasn't sure, but he starts busting it about halfway down, and then he puts the burners on right here and makes it into third rather easily. Stand-up triple. Brian Butterfield, third base coach, putting the brakes on, putting the stop sign on.
All about extra base hits for Baez, tied for second now this season with 8 triples. Brewer saw the Atlanta Braves over the weekend. They're a big extra base hit team. It's amazing what one swing of the bat can do to put you in scoring position. And Baez over at third with 1 out, so a sac fly could add to their run total. This one into left field. Braun can't come up with the sliding attempt. And Hayward will go into second base with the double. Good attempt out there by Ryan Braun. Made a big catch over the weekend in Atlanta. Not this time.
Pretty nice effort there by Braun. Hard hit line drive. And a good swing by Jason Hayward. A fastball. A good one too. Down and away. You see that backspin on it. Ball has a lot of carry and just off the end of the glove for an RBI double. Cubs lead this one early, 3-0.
That'll bring up Bodie. First pitch swinging, they'll go to third and get the out there. As Hayward running with the ball in front of him. Obviously a mistake there going to third base.
You know, we've seen that more and more. I think in the day and age where so much information is given to players, they've lost instincts right here. Hard hit ball straight up shortstop. Jonathan Schoop. This is an easy play for Schoop. Good throw to Mike Moustakas. You can see that Hayward is out by a good 4 or 5 feet.
Jonathan Schoop over at short today for Milwaukee. Travis Shaw playing second. Here's Rizzo, who hit that home run back in the first inning.
You know, it makes Rizzo so difficult to pitch to at times for a big, strong guy. He gets right up on top of the plate. And that home run that he hit off of Guerra the first at bat, you take a look at it, just right up on top of home plate. Anything on the corner, just off the corner, good sinking split change. He's right at the barrel of his bat zone. I think one of the keys, if you can crowd Anthony Rizzo and get that ball in on him, he likes to get those arms extended. Chokes up there with 2 strikes on the bat. Very important to a big, strong guy like this if you can tie him up with something up and in.
And the 0-2 put in play. Thames stopped the ball, flips quickly to Guerra, and he's safe. Guerra said he tagged him. He's got to make sure that Bodie doesn't leave from second. And we may have an error coming up on Thames.
Yeah, that's one of those slow developing plays right here. Thames comes and gets this ball, and it kind of bounces around a little bit out of little exchange getting out of his glove, and he kind of throws a little water balloon over to first base.
Well, it looked like he got Rizzo.
It looked like he tagged Anthony Rizzo with the ball in his glove. This will be an interesting one. You can see the footwork at first base. Junior Guerra gets himself in a really bad spot. He definitely has the ball in time. It's hard to tell right there if the glove scraped across that left sleeve of Anthony Rizzo.
Boy, that's interesting that the Brewers are choosing not to challenge that. That would be the third out if it was overturned. But Craig Counsell and his staff not seeing enough that they thought would overturn it. Interesting. Cubs 2 aboard, 2 down here in the third. Milwaukee already trailing 3-0. So Rizzo safe at first on the error on Eric Thames. Bodie over at second base as a result. First error of the ball game on Milwaukee. Here's Elmora. Missing low and inside. Fastball from Junior Guerra.
Going back to that last play, so much of that play, that was one of those slow developing plays. Thames had a difficult time getting out. He kind of flipped it up, almost like he would flip a water balloon or an egg. It makes it difficult for a pitcher. You can feel and sense a base runner coming down, and you're trying to wait for that ball to come into your glove. And you're trying to get your footwork together. You see him, he catches the ball right now, but he's in a really bad spot, so he decides to make the tag on Anthony Rizzo. You can see where his feet are together. He caught himself about a good 2.5, 3 feet in front of first base.
There was contact there. I guess the question is, was the glove part of that contact? And this one skips by Pena, and runners will advance to second and third. This is an inning right here where Junior Guerra is trying to do anything to get this final out.
Split changeup right here. This one way out of the strike zone, and Manny Pena tries to do a good job of getting out there. This one is almost in the middle of the left-handed hitter's batter's box.
Runners move up on the wild pitch. 3 balls and no strikes to Elmora. And it looked like it hit the strike zone. It's ball 4. So the inning continues.
Only in the third inning, but there are a couple of outs or at bats during the course of a game that could really dictate winning or losing, and this very well could be one. Already down 3-0, bases loaded, 2 outs. Big, powerful Kyle Schwarber, see 20 home runs on the year. Game could be won and lost right here.
This is not a position that Junior Guerra wanted to be in. This inning has quickly unraveled. Not a whole lot going Milwaukee's way at this point. And there's a first pitch strike from Junior Guerra. Went for the top of that zone to Elmora, and it was not called a strike. Here it is. A run already in for the Cubs. They lead at 3-0. Guerra drops one in the bottom of the zone.
Boy, great sequence of pitching right there. First pitch, 94, up at the letters, called strike. There you see that grip, that split change grip. 88 miles an hour, diving action. Let's go a couple of different ways. Go back with another elevated fastball, then come back with a split change if you'd like to do. Key is something down or something way up in the zone.
Here's the 0-2. And Pena, nice stop in front of the plate. And the runner, Bodie, comes in and he's safe. What an aggressive play by David Bodie. That ball really never left the home plate area, but Pena didn't know where it was. And Bodie apparently had a big enough lead to come in.
Well, you hear first and third base coaches talking about all that time about a good secondary lead. This ball doesn't get that far away. Another split change. Overthrown, bounces off of Manny Pena's left shoulder. Has a difficult time locating it. David Bodie reads that very well. See, this ball hits right off the right shoulder. And it bounces off of Kyle Schwarber. Heads up base running by David Bodie.
4-0 Chicago here in the third. Thames, nice play, flips to Guerra for the final out. That turned out to be more than Junior Guerra was bargaining for here in the third. The Cubs increase their lead.
Maybe nobody hotter in the National League right now than Acuna for the Atlanta Braves. Now has homered from the leadoff spot in 3 consecutive games. He did it in the doubleheader Monday against the Marlins. Then yesterday took the first pitch off of Trevor Richards. Followed that again in the 7th with a 3-run homer. He now has 19 on the season, so he has homered in 5 straight games. And overall, 7 of his last 8. He becomes the youngest player since 1908 to homer in 5 consecutive games, just 20 years old. And you see there the NL East, the Braves holding on to that top spot over the Phillies. That's going to be another NL race, fun to watch down the stretch.
Boy, things have turned around there in the last several days, and the Brewers witnessing Atlanta's comeback and what Acuna was able to do over the weekend as well, starting that home run streak against Milwaukee. And the Brewers are going to have to hammer the ball a little bit here as we go to the 4th. They're down 4-0 to Chicago. A disastrous 3rd inning defensively, and some plays that did not go Milwaukee's way. So the Cubs able to tack on a couple of more runs as Moustakas leads off. He has one of Milwaukee's 2 hits here this afternoon so far. The Brewers have not been able to get a runner past first base against Kyle Hendricks.
It can be awful difficult. You want to try to be patient with Kyle Hendricks. Didn't get that call. Ball just off the plate. A couple of pitches went his way the first couple of innings. What are the keys? You want to be over aggressive, but a guy like Kyle Hendricks, what he wants to do, he wants to feed on hitters being over aggressive, changing speeds, having to go out front, trying to disguise 88, making it look 94, 95, and he does that with a change in the curveball.
And Moustakas goes down. Let's go back to that 3rd inning with Anthony Rizzo and that close play over at first base. The Brewers decided not to challenge Guerra covering. And did he get him with his glove? It sure looked like it on the shoulder there.
I think one of the issues, it looked like he tagged Anthony Rizzo. I wasn't sure if it was the wrist or the forearm. If he actually tagged him with the glove. That angle from there, it looks like he grazed him with the backside of the glove.
Well, ball and glove, I don't know. Interesting, the Brewers decided not to challenge that. And Ryan Braun lays a bunt down, and Hendricks fields it well. 2 down quickly here in the 4th for Milwaukee.
I get the gist of it with David Bodie playing way back behind the third base bag. Ryan Braun took a peek down there, thought if he could just get the ball on the ground, there'd be no way that Bodie could make a play. Unfortunately for Ryan Braun, he bunts it almost directly straight back to Kyle Hendricks. Pretty good fielding pitcher.
And you know the Cubs will take that after watching Braun hit 2 home runs yesterday. Here's Shaw with 2 down. He struck out back in the 2nd. This one hit a long way into the gap, and this one's going to go all the way to the wall. And off the ivy, Shaw will trot into second base with a double. And that's the first runner in scoring position for Milwaukee here this afternoon against Hendricks.
I know one of the keys is you want to try to jump on a guy like Kyle Hendricks early. The problem is he's been really good with his first pitches. This is one of the few fastballs, 87, that's been left up in the zone. That one didn't have that good sailing, sinking action. And Travis Shaw makes him pay, and he rifles one hop off that wall, off the basket in right center field. So the key is you want to be aggressive, but you certainly don't want to swing at Kyle Hendricks' pitcher's pitches, and he's made a lot of them early on with that good changeup and the good sinker.
Here's Scope, and he goes the same direction, and this will plate Milwaukee's first run all the way to the wall for Scope. And the Brewers are on the board. It's a 4-1 ball game right now, and Jonathan Scope's 3rd RBI is a Milwaukee Brewer.
You know, partner, we talked about this before the game about Jonathan Scope. And Milwaukee fans haven't seen what this guy can do yet. There's the split finger grip. You can see the 2-seam grip from Kyle Hendricks. Another ball up in the zone. And when this guy's good, and he is a good player, Jonathan Scope, he has power, and he has power to all fields.
Scope.
Eventually, he will get going.
Same direction, and this will plate Milwaukee's first run.
A good player. He hasn't had the opportunity yet to show Brewer fans what he's all about, but this is a good player, and I really believe eventually you're going to see this guy do some big things in a Brewer uni.
Well, the Brewers were aggressive. The last 2 batters, Shaw and Scope, taking that first pitch to the gap. Here is Eric Thames. Eric Thames has made 2 nice plays defensively, but did get that error in the last inning that led to an unearned run.
You can see it's so hard to stay back on a guy like Kyle Hendricks. That last pitch, 70-mile-an-hour slow off-speed pitch. You know, one of the keys you'll hear pitchers and hitters talk about, one of the keys, either throw better than hitting speed, which is upper 90s, or slower than hitting speed, which is below 86, 87. That in between 88 to 92, 93, unless you locate it, it's almost like batting practice. These hitters in 2018, they're so geared for velocity and spin rate that almost better off if you could master a great straight changeup.
And Thames goes into right field. Scope around third. He's on his way home, and the play is not in time. Scope scores, and the Brewers have picked up a couple of runs, getting that deficit cut in half.
I like it. You challenge one of the best right field arms in the game of baseball. Cedar does a great job with 2 outs, trying to take advantage, sending Jonathan Scope. Not an easy thing to do, and a guy that throws really well. You could say Hayward gets to this ball, planting a quick throw, and a good throw, maybe a little bit up the third baseline, and a good slide by Jonathan Scope to avoid the tag from Wilson Contreras. And it's amazing how an inning can turn and a game can change. A couple of big 2-out base hits, and the Brew Crew right back in this one.
There's Manny Pena. Inside of the Brewer catcher.
Another look at the slide right here. You can see Hayward gets to this ball, and a quick catch and a quick release. Throw takes Wilson Contreras up the line. You clearly misses the tag on Jonathan Scope, and a great slide by Scope.
Yeah, that throw was off by maybe a foot or so, and we could have a different result. Hayward, a Gold Glover, multiple Gold Gloves out there in right field. Contreras out to talk with Hendricks. The Brewers have 2 runs here in their half of inning number 4 to cut that lead down to 4-2. And Hendricks falling behind Pena. 2 balls here to open up his at bat here in the 4th inning.
Really, it was a great aggressive send by Eddie Cedar at third base coach. I think one of the more underappreciated. There's a good look at Eddie right there. It's kind of like a bullpen. If you have a bad bullpen, it really sticks out. One of the toughest things is to gauge the throwing arm, the running speed of the runner on base, how good of a base runner is a guy. Doesn't have much familiarity with Jonathan Scope. He's only been with the Brew Crew for a couple of weeks. Read that ball off the bat, took a gamble. Jason Hayward throws very well, but a very aggressive send by Eddie Sear and a terrific play.
Longtime Brewer base coach, third base coach, known for his aggressiveness. Sometimes you gotta push those limits and make the defenders get you out. That's another classic example there. Here's Junior Guerra, the Brewer pitcher. His offense has gotten him 2 runs now, and Guerra deep into the hole, and Russell take care of the lead runner Pena for the final out. But the Brewers on Jonathan Scope, his bat comes alive as the Brewers are able to plate a run there on his hit, and then later he comes home on a close play. It's now a 4-2 ball game. The 4th inning, and you can put yourself in control of all the action with RBI Baseball 18. With the all-new franchise mode, you can build your ideal roster and make a run toward the playoffs. RBI Baseball is rated E for everyone. To learn more, visit rbigame.com today. And Jonathan Scope, you talked to Ann about the aggressive play to send him, and in between innings, Eddie Cedar came over and they had a little chat right there.
You know, one of the things, not only a player getting used to his new surroundings, but also a player and a coach getting used to. Eddie Cedar very aggressive in that throw. A lot of third base coaches are just going to say, hey, ball hit hard out to Jason Hayward. We're not going to send him. He's thrown too many people out. Very aggressive send and a good job and a great slide by Jonathan Scope to get in a big run for the Brew Crew.
4-2 game. Junior Guerra goes back to work, and let's take a look at our StatCast AI powered by our AWS, and that slide and how quickly that Scope gets around from second, around third, and into home right there. Contreras down a strike, and now the count is even at 1-1. Contreras hit into a double play back in the second inning, and that was a big play for Junior Guerra. He had a 8-pitch second inning. He's given up 2 runs in the first and the third so far in this game. And this one punched right in between that Brewers shift right there between Shaw and Scope.
Take a look at this alignment right here. Figures it's going to be pretty difficult. Almost looked like Jonathan Scope was assuming that Travis Shaw was going to cross over and backhand that and make the throw. At times the shift take it, but it also give it the ground ball. A lot of people, traditionalists, will say that's a ground ball straight up shortstop. But the new wave, the new shifting and alignments, base hit.
Hendricks lays down a perfect sacrifice bunt to move Contreras into scoring position at second base.
Old conventional baseball, Kyle Hendricks. Just make sure you get the ball down on the ground to make the first baseman Thames and or the pitcher Junior Guerra field it. Sacrifice has kind of gone the way of the dinosaur. A lot of teams don't like the sacrifice. You'll see it a little bit more in the National League with the pitcher involved.
And Addison Russell punches it into right. They're going to send the runner home, and the Cubs get another one here in the 4th inning, so they get one of those 2 runs back. And Contreras scores. It's a 5-2 game.
You know, that's one of the plays right there where Travis Shaw, inexperienced at second base, a big guy. This ball's not hit that far out of his reach. Normal second baseman or a guy that's been there for a while, you more than likely have a sense or an urgency to go ahead and leave his feet and dive and knock this ball down to keep it into the infield. He's played most of his career at third base. You can see right here, just a little bit out of the reach of Travis Shaw.
That's part of the range that Travis Shaw doesn't naturally have for that position over there. Mostly a third baseman in his career. Top of the order and a big hack from Baez there. He had a triple his last time up in the 3rd inning and also scored a run that inning. Wow, that one gets away from Pena all the way to the backstop there. Woefully inside pitch from Guerra.
Fastball up and in. I'm not sure if that was intended after that first big swing. You see the 4-seam fastball. Baez scoring away. Very fortunate he's able to get out of the way of this fastball. This is really up and in. Think twice about squaring around as early as he did there. A lot of times as a pitcher, you'll see a guy square around. The most difficult pitch to handle in a bunt is that ball that's elevated up and in. Addison Russell in scoring position. I don't feel there'd be any need for him to even think about laying a bunt down to go back to that aggressive swing mode.
Here's the 1-1. Fouled straight back. Guerra with 3 wild pitches already today. That makes 9 for the year. So a little control issues here in this game for sure.
Well, the first 2 were on that hard split change that he threw into the dirt. That last one, the 3rd one, was that fastball that was up and in on Javi Baez. In a spot like this, you take advantage of Baez being overly aggressive. You go back up or go ahead and throw the breaking ball something down way out of the zone. Baez prone to chase with 2 strikes.
The 1-2 from Guerra. A little bit high. with that triple Baez had. He has 14 of his last 19 hits for extra bases now. See the highest percentage of swings this season. Baez right there. Number 2 in the league. One out here, the Cubs 4th. Runner out at second base. They already have a run in. Pena, quick throw out there to second base. And Russell gets back in time. So the count full now to Baez.
I'm almost thinking this was a design play. Travis Shaw gets to the bag right away. Sequence of signs there from Manny Pena. Almost catches Addison Russell Napping, just able to get that right hand in before the tag from Travis Shaw.
Shaw got himself in perfect position. And Manny Pena will take chances like that. Baez waits for Guerra. Here's the 3-2. And he struck him out. Big strikeout for Junior Guerra there to get Javi Baez.
A steady diet of fastballs all the way through that at bat, 94, 95, and then he comes back with that hard split change there, 88 miles an hour. There's the grip on it. Doesn't move a whole lot, but it's more the velocity change from the 94, 95 to the 88 that has Javi Baez out in front.
Here's Hayward. An RBI double back in the 3rd. Two down here for Chicago in the 4th inning. Russell's RBI single scored Contreras, so they get a run here in the 4th, a 5-2 lead. This one into the shift and past Shaw, and another run is coming home. Well, Chicago gets 2 of the runs back that Milwaukee scored last frame and get that 4-run cushion back at 6-2.
We talked about it earlier before the game. It seems like the ball tries to find you. Brewers trying to find a way to mix Travis Shaw to get that bat into the lineup. And a couple of balls hit this inning. One to the left and that one there to the right, just outside the reach of Travis Shaw.
Dan Jennings warms up in the Brewers bullpen. Guerra's given up 6 runs, 5 of those earned so far in this game. And the Cubs 6 runs already here in the 4th. Here's Bodie. Bodie batting in the number 3 spot, playing third base today. He scored 2 of the 6 runs. This one's center field, shallow, and Kane can't come up with it. So a single for Bodie. The inning continues. Hayward to third.
Tough play there for Lorenzo Cain. This ball hit right off the end of the bat. You can see he's playing deep. Wind carrying, wind blowing out. A big, strong guy, Jason Hayward, just in front of the glove. Fortunately for Lorenzo Cain, it deflects off of his leg and it keeps the ball in front of him.
And here comes Craig Counsell, the Brewers manager, and he is going to make a pitching change here. 6 runs in the game already for Chicago, and we're not through the 4th. And a very un-Junior Guerra-like day here against the Cubs.
is brought to you by the Wisconsin Lottery, reminding you to please play responsibly. By Ascension, coming together to give healthcare a better name. We are Ascension. And by Wisconsin Dells, the water park capital of the world.
The U.S. Navy leapfrogs showing their good stuff here right before the national anthem earlier today here at Wrigley Field. The Air and Water Show is going to go on this weekend here in Chicago, and it's spectacular to see these guys come into the ballpark in such a manner through the air. There's Dan Jennings. He's going to get set to continue on here in relief of Junior Guerra. It's been a tough portion of the game for Junior Guerra to get through. Some balls may be misplayed, an error last inning, but the bottom line is Chicago putting the ball in play, Dan.
It is, and this is a big spot right here. 6-1, 6-2 in the fourth, bottom of the fourth. If you're Dan Jennings, this is a big out. Conditions like they are, it's hot and humid. You don't look at Kyle Schwarber as a guy that's, you know, a shutdown, gonna knock the bat out of your hands type of guy. Big out here. Get out of this inning down 4 runs going into the 5th. Still a lot of baseball left to be played. Get a chance to get into that Cub bullpen. Kyle Henrik has been good. Had a little bit of difficulty in the 4th inning. Big out here containing Anthony Rizzo. Keep this game at 6-2 heading into the top of the 5th.
Yeah, 2 down here in the 4th inning. Lefty versus lefty, and Jennings inside. Now it's 2-0. The 9 hits allowed by Junior Guerra tie a career high. '58th ball game for Dan Jennings, and he catches the outside corner. 2-1.
Good pitch right there. Falls behind. Fastball. 2-0. Gets back into the count with a 2-0 breaking ball.
This one sliced right at the Brewer dugout.
We were talking earlier about Anthony Rizzo. He's a big, strong guy, and he likes to get right on top of home plate. Good job there by Jan Jennings. Throws the 2-0 breaking ball for a strike. Comes back with a fastball right on an inside corner. The only thing Anthony Rizzo can do to get the head of the bat to it is to hook that ball and hook it foul. A couple of different ways he can go. Run that fastball back in, just in the left side of that box off the plate, or go to that sweeping breaking ball away.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Rizzo. Popped him up shallow right again, and this one's going to fall a base hit. Nobody can get to it, and another run comes home. Everything falling the Cubs' way right now, and the Brewers are having a tough time catching up to the baseball.
Well, tough sky right here. This ball is hit right off the end of the bat. You see Travis Shaw lost sight of where the ball was. Exaggerated shift. Jonathan Scope playing up on the entire right side. That shortstop second base area vacated. The threat of Anthony Rizzo hitting the ball on the ground. A harmless, what seemed like a harmless little pop-up just beyond the bag at second base turns into a base hit, and another run batted in.
3 runs here in the 4th inning. 2 in the 1st, 2 in the 3rd, 3 so far here in the 4th for Chicago as they continue to bat. Here's Elmora. The runner at third, Bodie, still on Guerra's record, so the book not closed on him. Elmora walked back in the 3rd, officially 0 for 1. Cubs 7 runs on 10 hits. The Brewers did commit an error in the 3rd inning. There goes Rizzo, and he'll take third base.
Well, pretty good non-throw there by Manny Pena. What you're trying to do is try to bait the throw down to second base.
The 1-2, foul ball. Well, the Cubs were shut out yesterday. They had the hitters meeting before the game. And you know this offense is just too good to see what they've been going through the last few ball games. Can't always rely on a walk-off grand slam to win games for you. And they've put together a pretty good attack against Junior Guerra here today. Jennings already in the game in the 4th inning in relief. But Milwaukee with a day off tomorrow. Greg Counsell wants to take full advantage of the bullpen he has available here, but trailing by 5 now. They certainly have their work cut out, but plenty of game left here. Not even midway through. 1-2 low, 2-2. Taylor Williams, who just came off the disabled list yesterday, starts to get loose in the Brewer bullpen.
You know, one of the things, you look at the score here, we're just in the bottom 4, down 7-2. Wind blowing out, hot, hazy, muggy day here this afternoon at Wrigley. She touched on a lot of baseball left to be played. Dan Jennings needs to put a halt to this Cub rally right here.
Here's the 2-2. It's high, full count. Elmora working Dan Jennings here, the 8th pitch of this at bat coming up. Here's the 3-2, and outside, the bases are now loaded.
Well, it doesn't get any easier, but if you're looking for the matchup right here, had a base open, might have not have been a bad pitch around. You get the left-on-left confrontation. Dan Jennings get a chance to get to Kyle Schwarber. Go back earlier, made a good pitch on Anthony Rizzo, that pop-up that dropped in just beyond second base. Take a look at Craig Counsell looking in on the action right here. This game could be won or lost right here. Down 7-2, bases loaded, 2 outs, and one of the big boppers up, and Kyle Schwarber.
Inside to Schwarber, ball 1. Cubs have batted around here in the 4th inning. Bases loaded, 2 down, 3 runs already in. They've chased the starter, Junior Guerra. Bodie, Rizzo, and Elmora on the bases right now. Jennings misses again, 2-0.
Well, just like he did with Anthony Rizzo. Falling behind early, was able to get back into the count with a breaking ball to Rizzo, 2-0. He's going to throw a breaking ball right here, needs to throw it for a strike. I would assume Schwarber is going to be sitting fastball. If he gets it, he'll be aggressive and swing.
And he hits the zone there. 2 balls and 1 strike.
Just like he did with Rizzo, another breaking ball, 2-0. It seems like at times Dan Jennings is a little uncomfortable to go to that breaking ball early on in the count.
Two 1. A swing and a miss. 2-2 now. So Jennings works back to even.
Might be the best breaking ball Dan's thrown since he's been here. Good breaking ball right here. You see Kyle Schwarber way out in front. Have to be careful. You're going to go to the well 3 times in a row. It's not often a good idea to throw a good hitter the same pitch back to back to back 3 times in a row. Schwarber took the first one, had a better gauge on it, even though he had a bad swing on the second one. Plan of attack might be better off to try to get him to chase a fastball, and if you miss, then go ahead and go with the 3-2 breaking ball.
Again, time called. A chess match going on right now between Schwarber and Jennings. Each taking their time, one in the batter's box, one on the mound, and now Manny Piña's going to come out and talk to Jennings.
Now, this is a very important pitch, and if you're Dan Jennings, a lot of times when you're on the mound, you're wondering why can't they get on the same page. You have a pitch that's in your mind. Doesn't seem like Dan Jennings is very comfortable throwing that breaking ball. I think whatever he tries to do, you take a look at the left-on-left matchup. I always thought the safest pitch to go was either fastball down and away or breaking ball down and away. Schwarber, a much different type of hitter than Anthony Rizzo.
The 2-2. And this one right to Scope, and he tags second base for the force out. And this inning finally ends for Milwaukee, but the Cubs played 3, 7-2.
The Cubs holding a 7-2 lead over the Brewers in the conclusion of this 2-game series here. And an update for you from both general manager David Stearns and manager Craig Counsell on Jimmy Nelson and his status for the rest of the season, both reiterating kind of the same message that Jimmy pitching for the Brewers this season is probably unlikely. And both were ready to clarify that it was not due to a setback of any kind as Jimmy comes back from that shoulder surgery that he suffered in September. Remember, he injured that right shoulder September 8th here at Wrigley when he made that dive back into first base, a torn rotator cuff and labrum for Jimmy Nelson. And really, it's not a setback for him, and they are still not ruling it out 100%. But they feel that just with the timeline and where he is in his rehab, it's unlikely that he'll pitch for the team this season. So the goal now is to get him into a competitive situation before he shuts it down for the offseason. So what that may mean is they may send him to the Fall Instructional League, have him pitch there. But again, unlikely he'll pitch here in the regular season.
Yeah, that's not a complete surprise as the season has gone along. It's just more of a confirmation on the Brewers' part to I think settle that publicly, and especially for Jimmy Nelson. And it's a disappointment for him, obviously. I think there were some high hopes, Dan, for him at certain points, but the progress physically, I mean, if you're not there at this point of the season, 2 with 6 weeks to go, there's no point for the club to try to force anything.
Well, I think it makes it more difficult, Greg, if he would have began the season with a team and had a setback where you had a chance to see what he could do, to go through his spring training. But he really hasn't thrown a pitch for the Brewers since last September. And so I guess you could look at it like, would it have been a welcome addition? Of course it would be. I think Zach Davies, it'll be crucial if the Brewer crew could get Zach Davies back, another guy that was a big-time winner for the Brewers last year. And it's about starting pitching. You go back to last year, the last 2 weeks of the season, that was a need for the Brewers. They were trying anything they could to find guys out of the bullpen. And it's a very difficult I guess, plank to walk when you're running out of games in September and you're hunting and you're looking for starting pitching any way you can get it. It makes it very difficult. Then you put extra pressure and you tax a bullpen that's been used early and often already. That's why yesterday's outing and performance by Yoli Chassin was so important. It set the stage for what looked like a day today. Junior Guerra could have given them some length. You could get Jeremy Jeffress and Josh Hader involved. Turn this into a 6 or 7 inning game. So far that hasn't worked, but there's a lot of baseball left to be played yet today.
Tristan Yelich strikes out to lead off this inning for Milwaukee, and Lorenzo Cain, the next batter here with one down. Hendricks has struck out the leadoff man in every inning. As this one goes off Rizzo into right field, the base hit, so Cain is aboard.
Ball took a wicked hop on Anthony Rizzo. I'm sure that's going to be ruled a base hit. That was one of those in-between hops, kind of handcuffed Anthony Rizzo. You can see him holding that glove hand. That ball was a bullet hit by Lorenzo Cain. They ruled that in there. That's a tough error.
Yeah, indeed
that
it
is a really, really tough error.
And base hit written down there, just the way the ball rocketed off the bat.
Take a look at it right here. This ball's barreled up by Lorenzo Cain. This ball takes a nasty hop. And if I'm Anthony Rizzo, I don't know who the official scorer is here, but I would take a look up to the press box. That's a tough error.
Well, the Brewers will take the base runner. Mike Moustakas steps in. So Cain at first, one down here in the 5th inning. Moustakas 1 for 2, a base hit back in the 1st, struck out in the 4th. Hendricks with 7 strikeouts in the game so far.
Kind of hoping after that long inning for the Cubs was about 28 minutes between pitches for Kyle Hendricks, when he's able to get through that 4th inning. Brew Crew taxed him a little bit, scored 2 runs in the 4th, sat around for 28 minutes. He's come out right where he was at the beginning of the game, throwing strikes.
Moustakas takes it the other way, base hit. So an error and a base hit, 2 aboard as the Brewers threaten here in their half of inning number 5.
Another changeup from Kyle Hendricks. You can see with the shift on, David Bodie playing on the second base side. That entire left side of the infield vacated. Mike Moustakas will take it. Little soft line humpback liner for a base hit.
Well, this is an interesting situation here. Hernan Perez pinch hitting for Ryan Braun here in the 5th inning.
Maybe something happened when Braun dove for that ball. That line drive that was out in left field.
Perez having himself a really nice run offensively. Started in yesterday's game over at second base. .325 over his last 32 ball games. Ball and a strike to Perez, who can play anywhere on the field. Started at second, as I mentioned yesterday, and if it's for Ryan Braun here today, can easily play left. You love his versatility, especially swinging a big bat right now. And this one right back to Hendricks, out to second, over to first for the double play. So Hendricks, everything going his way today. A one hopper. He fields his position well. A 1-4-3 double play ends the Brewer threat.
lead over the Brewers, and the Summer Slugger program is here. The Brewers have partnered with digital learning innovator Everfeed to help prevent the summer slide among 3rd to 6th graders. All students are invited to participate in this online baseball-themed learning course that helps reinforce critical math and literacy skills. The students can earn points, unlock levels, and receive progress-based rewards throughout the summer. You can visit summerslugger.com/Brewers to learn more and sign up today. And Craig and Dan, an update for you on Ryan Braun. Hernan Perez came in to pinch hit for him in that lat at bat. And here's a look at Braun in the outfield. He has left the game with right rib cage tightness, according to the Brewers clubhouse. So Braun out of the game. They're saying it's a right rib cage tightness. There's a look at the play he made in the outfield.
Well, that'll put Christian Yelich over in left, and Perez stays in the game and plays right for Milwaukee. So there's your defensive switch there. And boy, a tough blow for Ryan Braun. You hope that's not serious as Taylor Williams now comes in. His 43rd game in relief for Milwaukee, came off the disabled list yesterday. And Dan, you like this guy. He's a hard thrower.
Hard thrower with some right elbow stiffness. One pitch, ground ball. Jonathan Scope scoops it up. Very important bridge in the game of baseball right now. The 6th, 7th, and 8th inning guys. Very important for Taylor Williams. Keep this within range, as we saw the last inning. Get a bloop and a blast. Conditions are very friendly for hitters this afternoon here at Wrigley. Hot, muggy Wednesday afternoon. One swing of the bat, you find yourself right back into this one.
Got to limit the damage, though, that's for sure. You got to say 7 is enough right here if you're Milwaukee pitching. Comebacks are difficult to do, especially when your deficit is as many as 5 runs. As Hendrick bats here in the 5th. When you talk about run support for the Cubs starting pitcher, when the team scores 6 runs or more, and they have 7 today, he's 25-0 in his career. If they score 3+ runs for Hendricks, 41-3 in his career. It's amazing numbers.
Well, one of the keys with Kyle Hendricks, they've never really looked at him to be one of those guys that is a finisher. Bullpen, for the most part, is very much a part of his games. Joe Madden is not opposed to when he gets out there to the 7th or 8th inning. A couple of guys get on to get that bullpen activated. He's one of those guys, when you see him the 3rd time through the order, he fools you with the off speed, the deception, the great straight changeup, but after you've had it a bat or two, that's what makes it so difficult, because the Cubs bullpen, just like the Brewers, filled with a lot of hard throwers. So you kind of lull a lineup to sleep with that slow curveball, the changeup, the 88-mile-an-hour fastball. Then you start bringing that high velocity in innings 7, 8, and 9.
So Hendricks strikes out. That brings up Addison Russell, the number 9 hitter, the shortstop. RBI single back in the 4th inning. Also scored a run.
You go back to that 3rd inning. Inning kind of all started. Contreras led out with a base hit. Kyle Hendricks' a sacrifice bunt to get him to second base, and a ground ball that was hit right between the shift. Jonathan Scope and Travis Shaw was playing on the shortstop side of second base. It seemed like it would be nearly impossible to hit a ground ball through that gap between those two, but they did. And then the floodgates opened after that. Jason Hayward hit that line drive. It was ruled a double that Ryan Braun dove for, and it bounced off his knee. It turned into a 3-run 4th inning for the Cubs.
You like going through that scorecard, don't you?
Well, I see the, you know, I'm going through this game, and if I'm Javi Guerra, you look back and you try to play, say, hey, what could or what did you do, and what could have been, you know, a play here or a play there that's made. It's a totally different outlook.
Perez gets his first chance out and right, and a 1-2-3 inning for Taylor Williams. Here in the 5th, 7-2, we head to the 6th. here at Wrigley Field, and let's take a look at our Powerball home run total for Milwaukee. Yesterday they got 4 on the board, 156 now on the season for the home run hitting Milwaukee Brewers. Got 2 from Ryan Braun. They lose his bat today as he leaves the game with right rib cage tightness, and Milwaukee trailing in this one by 5 runs as Travis Shaw goes to work to lead off the 6th inning. Kyle Hendricks has pitched a gem so far. The Brewers touching him for 2 runs back in the 4th inning. 6 hits allowed by the Cubs starting pitcher. He's won 5 of his last 6 outings. Shaw 1 for 2. A double and a run scored back in that 4th.
Just as Jolie Chassin yesterday kept the Cub hitters off with a steady diet of off-speed pitches, backdoor breaking balls. Very similar. Kyle Hendricks sinking fastball 88 to 89 miles an hour. There's a changeup, not a particularly good one, but 78 miles an hour.
Russell calls for it in shallow center. And there's one down. Got the glasses on now, doesn't he, Dan?
After the 1st inning, right? Mike Moustakas hit that real looping shallow pop-up right behind shortstop. One of the first things we looked at, that he had the flip downs. He has them on now, but the sun is a little bit brighter here in the 6th inning as it was when we started this at 1:20 in the 1st inning.
1 down for Jonathan Scope. That was the first fly ball out of the afternoon for Hendricks, believe it or not. And our Blaze Pizza at the plate. Jonathan Scope 1 for 2, had the RBI double, had a run scored back in the 4th inning.
This is what Kyle Hendricks does. He just lulls you to sleep and makes you be out of your comfort zone. Another straight changeup, 1 ball, no strike count. As a hitter, you want to be aggressive. Another changeup, 79 miles an hour.
And Russell takes that out, number 2. A little floater out there in shallow center again. I mentioned those numbers with the run support for Kyle Hendricks. How about his career August numbers? 13-2 with a 2.69. That's his best month of his pro career. That month of August, trying to get his team in playoff position. He's back at it again as of late. Facing Eric Thames with 2 down, bases empty for Milwaukee here in the 6th.
See another good pitch. 1-0 fastball, 87 miles an hour. For the most part, he stayed out of that middle part of that box you're looking at on the screen. On the corners, another good changeup right there to Eric Thames. Add a little bit, subtract a little bit off. Trying to disguise 87, 88, make it look 94, 95.
Count even now to the Brewer first baseman today.
It's just so hard when you try to go up with an aggressive approach to a guy like Hendricks. He just keeps taking a little bit more off and a little bit more off, and he lulls you to sleep, and the next thing you know, you have a bad swing at a fastball that he makes look good.
And a strikeout to end the 6th. That's 8 strikeouts for Kyle Hendricks here today. 3-2, the Cubs lead the Brewers, and the Brewers are back home on Monday, August 20th. All fans can grab $6 Loge and terrace levels tickets for the contest exclusively through the MLB Ballpark app. This special offer expires tomorrow at 11:59, so be sure to log into the Ballpark app and lock in your discounted seats before time is up. A huge, great value right there to come and see the Brewers as they get back after a long road trip here at Wrigley Field. The final of 2 games here before they move on to St. Louis this weekend. The second game into 14 straight against Central Division foes. Taylor Williams back on the hill to start the 6th inning for the Brewers. And it's the top of the order, and Javi Baez. Another big crowd here of nearly 40,000 at Wrigley Field. Dan, you played 7 years for the Brewers, the next 2 here in Chicago. It's something to come here each time and see the changes, especially outside the ballpark. We've seen some changes now inside with the dugouts and whatnot, but they're doing a pretty nice job of preserving the historic value of Wrigley Field, yet modernizing for fans and just about everyone coming in here now.
You know, I think at first all the renovations ruffled a lot of the longtime fans. You have these 2 big scoreboards, one out left center, one down the right field line. There was a big squabble with some of the rooftop owners that it was blocking the view. But this ballpark still has that old feel and an old charm, and very much like Fenway, there's a look at that big scoreboard in left center field, and there's with the Budweiser sign in right field. It still has that old ballpark type of feel. There's a buzz at this ballpark, and a lot of that has to do with when you're playing as good as the Cubs have played the last 4 or 5 years. They won it all in 2016. It's easy to follow a team that has had a long, rich tradition like the Cubs have had. Good players, good team. They brought in Joe Madden. A lot of positives here on the corner of Clark and Addison.
3-2 count to Baez, and right to Shaw. A sharp one hopper for the first out.
Take a look at right here. Only in 2018, that ball is a base hit. See Javi Baez kind of throw the bat down in disgust. Line drive just to the left of Taylor Williams. Travis Shaw well positioned. One hot bullet goes down in the book as a simple 4-3. We've seen that more and more with teams with a shift.
There's Hayward. Two hits for him. He also scored a run.
Taking a look at the exaggerated shift. You look at Travis Shaw, Scope, and Thames. You have Mike Moustakas in that slot between second and third base. A lot of ground, a lot of room on the ground for Hayward.
And down the right field line, base hit for Hayward on his way into second, and he will have a standing 1-out double here in the 6th inning for Chicago.
See the pitch right here. Fastball from Taylor Williams. Inner third of the play, the up. And Jason Hayward, credit Jason Hayward, took a lot of criticism 2016 and last year for his offensive numbers. He's turned that around in 2018. Had a difficult time getting to the fastball the first couple of years. He had a Cub uniform on. He's had a much more productive 2018.
3-hit day for him, 2 doubles and a single so far. Here's Bodie. He also has 2 hits in this game. 2 hits and a run scored. Came into this game hitting .380 in his last 19 big league games. He's been up and down now 5 times between the minor leagues and the big league club. Last year had a breakout year with AA Tennessee. And those numbers continued at AAA, and then he's really been able to contribute a lot with this club in his limited time. And a game-tying 2-run home run back on July 26th in the 9th inning. Had the grand slam this past Sunday night. I guess one of the questions that the Cubs will have to deal with is when Chris Bryant comes back, what do you do with Bodie if he keeps his hitting up?
And it's an interesting conversation with third base coach Brian Butterfield, who was a coach with the Diamondbacks. There's a good look at, they call him Butter. Talked to him a little about David Bodie, and he told me he's the real thing. He's a legit player. And as much as they miss Chris Bryant, they really think that this guy eventually is going to be a player, an everyday player at the big league level for the Cubs. Terrific work habit. You touched on that big home run he hit off of Ryan Madsen this past Sunday night, a walk-off grand slam. Cubs think he is very much a part of their future. Where that is, as far as position player-wise, remains to be seen. But as long as he hits, they're going to find a place for him to play.
Working against Taylor Williams, a ball and 2 strikes. Hayward out there at second, and Bodie strikes out this time. So there's the second out for Williams. And our Tavern of the Game winner is Plotz's Pub in Merrill. If the Tavern calls the Milwaukee Brewers by 10 a.m. tomorrow, they will receive 40 tickets to a Friday night game in the Miller Lite Beer Pen. This offer is courtesy of the Tavern League of Wisconsin and Miller Lite. Plotz's Pub in Merrill.
I've been up that way when skiing one winter up in Rib Mountain right near Wausau. Drove through there. I was driving through Tomahawk. And I remember going through Merrill, Wisconsin. I'm going to have to stop in and have a cold one at Plaza's Pub in Merrill.
I love it. Dan Plesac with a little skiing in the wintertime at Rib Mountain.
Bunny trails, though. I don't go on those black diamond ones. I stay where you fall down, nothing can happen.
They got some nice runs either way up there. That's a treasure in the state of Wisconsin. So Craig Counsell going to make a double switch here and take Williams out. Make a pitching change. Corbin Burns has been warming up in the Brewer bullpen, and he trots in, and we will take a break while he warms up. FS1, the Orioles take on Francisco Lindor and the AL leading Cleveland Indians. Then Ryan Braun of the Brewers battle Matt Carpenter and the Cardinals. Coverage begins at 2 on FS1 or stream it live on the Fox Sports app. So Jesus Aguilar comes in on the double switch at first base for Eric Thames, and Corbin Burns comes in now with 2 down and a runner out at second base in relief. And it's a relief appearance number 13 for young Corbin Burns.
Take a look at the numbers on the year. Nice record, 3-0 ERA. Mid-threes, 3.86. Only 4 walks in 14 innings. Big out right here in Anthony Rizzo. All the outs are big right now. Bruku can ill afford to fall any further down. Down 7-2 here, bottom 6th inning.
Burns' first pitch is outside to Anthony Rizzo. Homered back in the first, has 3 RBIs. He set the offensive tone in this one against Junior Guerra. It was a big blow in the first with 2 down as well.
Not sure if it's just me, but it does seem like he's been up about 6 times already today. It just seems like there's been traffic on the bases, and it's been a difficult time to get him out. Hit the big home run, the line drive home run in the bottom of the first inning. Ball for Junior Guerra, a pretty good fastball that he rifled out of here. 94-mile-an-hour fastball away.
Well, he's been on 3 times. You're right. The home run, the base hit. He's got the 3 RBIs, reached on an error in that 3rd inning. And I think the home run surprised everybody because it was a low liner that didn't even make it into the seats. It just cleared the basket out there. It was a oppo home run for Rizzo.
You know, you talk to a lot of people around this Cub team, and it's hard to say who's the most important guy or the guy, but to me the heartbeat of this team is Anthony Rizzo. Chris Bryant has been on and off the DL. Addison Russell's had a couple of really productive years, but I think when it's all said and done, this is the guy that leads the way. Go back a couple of years ago, the big game down the stretch. They had a series against the Cincinnati Reds, and Aroldis Chapman threw a fastball up and in, and I remember after the inning was over, Anthony Rizzo pretty much walked from his spot over at first base, took his glove down, and walked right over to the Reds dugout, was ready to take on the whole team. And that's, I think, right there is when he became the guy here. Solid player, likes to play every day, hard nose. He's one of the reasons this team has been so good the last 4 or 5 years.
He is a presence on and off the field. And this one a bouncer to Shaw. And Corbin Burns ends the Cubs threat here in the 6th inning. Still 7-2. Down Milwaukee hitters are Badger Mutual Insurance plays of the game. His strikeouts one after the other, but he has dominated with his off speed here today. 8 strikeouts, only 1 walk, 2 hits, 2 runs, 6 hits, 2 runs.
Can't say it any better than that. It's been a different way, right? We're in this day and age of spin rate, velo, launch angles, steady diet of 78 to 80 mile an hour changeup, slow curveball, mixing his fastball, good sinking action on the corners all day long. It's been what we've heard. He's been very good the last handful of starts, last 5-6 starts. With the exception of Cole Hamels, he's been the best pitcher in the Cub rotation.
Trying to win his 4th straight, and he came in winning 5 of his last 6 starts, trying to make 6 of his last 7. And certainly a description of a stopper right there when you're that hot, when each time you've gone out here in more than a month and won ball games.
You think about it, the Cubs have had some difficulty with their starting rotation. John Lester was so good pre-All-Star break. He's been anything but since the break. I think that's one of the reasons why the Cubs realized that they had to go out and get somebody and acquire somebody, and acquired Cole Hamels. They've gotten little or nothing and signed a big over $100 million multi-year contract for Yu Darvish, who spent a lot of time this year on the DL. Tyler Chatwood ineffective, now banished to the bullpen. So 2 big free agent tickets, and Yu Darvish and Tyler Chatwood will have not paid off. And I think that's one of the good things. I guess a great thing if you're a Cub fan, the financial flexibility to go out and help yourself and acquire Cole Hamels.
Nice effort out there, but just off the glove of Baez. So Pena reaches on a base hit to start the 7th inning for Milwaukee.
See Pena right here, 70 miles an hour changeup just off the top of the glove of Javi Baez. Well timed, just outside of the reach. He's gotten to the point where just about anything you feel he gets a glove on, he's going to be able to secure it.
And you can hear those fighter jets roaring across the lakeshore and nearby Wrigley Field here. That Aaron Waters show I told you about is going to be underway here in Chicago. Here's Jesus Aguilar. Let's see if he can put one into the air.
This is normally where Joe Madden is not afraid to get that bullpen involved. We touched on it earlier part of the game. Kyle Hendricks not looked as one of those guys that's a finisher, a guy that's going to eat up some innings. Normally don't like to see him go through the starting lineup a 3rd time. Wouldn't be so surprised here if Jesus Aguilar can get something going.
2 for 4 with a walk yesterday and a career high tying 3 runs.
Wouldn't be surprised at all if Joe Madden didn't go to the bullpen with Christian Yelich lurking on deck.
Our Powerball home run leaderboard, Jesus Aguilar leading Milwaukee in home runs with 29 on the season, 3rd in the National League. And there is Edwards starting to get warmed up in that Chicago bullpen underneath the stands out there in left field.
Much like Milwaukee, the Cubs feel like when they're healthy, their closer Brandon Morrow on the disabled list right now. Pedro Strop mainly handling things in the 9th inning, but Carl Edwards Jr. has been a very important part of the bullpen the last couple of seasons. Good look at him, tall, slender guy, big arm. Upper to mid-90s fastball, good hard breaking ball. Guy that can throw multiple innings. Kind of the way that the Brewers use Jefferson Hader.
3-1 to Aguilar, and he draws the walk. So a good start to this inning for Milwaukee. They trail by 5 runs. The first 2 reach, nobody out yet here in the 7th. And top of the order, and Christian Yelich.
Buying some time right here. Wilson Contreras on his way out to the mound. I would assume making sure that Carl Edwards Jr. is hot, heated, and ready to go.
93 pitches for Hendricks. He's been rather efficient here. We'll see if he stays in the game. Christian Yelich 1 for 3. He has struck out twice, and here comes Joe Madden. We'll likely see the pitching change, and he does make the call for Edwards. So a very productive day for Kyle Hendricks here today.
6+ innings of work for him. And he leaves with 2 aboard. And Chicago a 7-2 lead over Milwaukee. Wisconsin and Brewers baseball, wherever you go. Wrigley Field, hot afternoon for baseball here. The Cubs lead Milwaukee, top of the 7th, and the Brewers are threatening. 2 aboard, nobody out, as they chase Hendricks, and Carl Edwards Jr. comes in, and his 40th appearance on the season.
I think 2 things step out. You look at that graphic, 2.58 ERA, 56 strikeouts in 38 1/3 innings. 16 walks, swing and miss guy, only allowed 2 home runs in 38 1/3 innings. Keeps the ball in the ballpark. Reliable, dependable, big arm. 95 to 97, good hard breaking ball.
And he will face Christian Yelich. Manny Pena out at second. Aguilar drew the walk. He's at first. And first ball hitting right to short, over to second. Do they get the double play? No. Very close play out there as Pena has his head down and his hand on the base. And that Cedar is coming out. So is Carlos Subero, the Brewer base coaches, to make sure he's okay.
Looks like he might have caught a little bit of the left shoe from Javi Baez. Goes in head first. You see that right foot from Baez, the heel area of that cleat. Catches him in the left side of the face and the jaw.
Maybe that shoulder too. Looks like they're taking a look at Dave Yeager's out there, taking a look at his left shoulder. Definitely a collision out there on a bang play. Pena has been banged up this week, Dan. Took a foul tip into the groin area on Sunday afternoon and had to leave the game in Atlanta. It's not bad enough being a catcher. Now you're getting banged up on the bases.
Boy, you know, it does a great job getting back to the bag. You can see right here, Javi Baez. Oh, you can see it both, not only the cleat to the face, but you can see that ankle area right onto that left shoulder of Manny Pena.
So Yelich retired on the line out to short. 1 down. Pena looks like he's okay, rotating that shoulder around. He'll stay in the game. And here's Lorenzo Cain. Brewers scored 2 runs back in the 4th inning. And only two other times have they had multiple base runners in the same inning. This is a moment now, starting to get late, 7th inning, down by 5 runs.
Really important if you're Jesus Aguilar at first base to get a good secondary lead. With these short gaps here at Wrigley Field, want to try to get yourself in a spot. If you could score on a ball that's hit down the line or a ball hitting the gap, it's a little bit more difficult here in this ballpark because the gaps are only 368 to the right and left center field gap. See Anthony Rizzo playing well off the bag behind the base, and as a base runner you could get off just about as far as Anthony Rizzo is off at first base.
Kane fouls the 2-0 pitch away.
Have to be careful though if you're Jesus Aguilar. Wilson Contreras loves to throw from behind the plate. Get a little bit over aggressive, you get too big of a secondary lead, you'll see a hand signal from Anthony Rizzo. You see him taking a peek in right now. He loves to throw the ball around the diamond, does Contreras.
Kane shoots one down the right field line and just into foul territory, into the seats. Now even up the count at 2 balls and 2 strikes.
See what makes it so difficult when the Cubs go to that bullpen after Kyle Hendricks, who's been 86, 87, changeup, curveball, lulls you to sleep, and you have a guy like Carl Edwards, 96 to 98 miles an hour. It's like going from that local lane to the express lane. You got to speed up the pace a little bit, the tempo. Hendricks lulls you to sleep, and Edwards kind of wakes you up. You need to be ready to hit right off the get-go.
The 2-2 to Kane. We talked about Contreras, aggressive, trying to pick off base runners. He has caught 6, and that leads the majors. So look out for that guy's arm back there if you're on the bases and you're a Brewer runner right now. Two to Kane. Breaking ball misses down Loda. Make it a 3-2 count now to the Brewers center fielder. The All-Star hit a home run in yesterday's game. And hitting the ball very well as of late. Again, hanging tough is Lorenzo Cain.
Well, Carl Edwards making some really good pitches on Lorenzo Cain. Fastball with good velocity, 96 miles an hour. In the day and age, we're talking about spin rate and carry. Don't let that slender build fool you. Gets the ball up there in a hurry.
And the payoff pitch inside. Cain draws a walk, an 8-pitch at bat, and a good one to load the bases now for Milwaukee.
The guy you'd like to have up right now, Mike Moustakas. For the most part, a good fastball hitter. What makes his ballpark play so well for when you're playing from behind like the Brewers. Ball carries today on a day like today, wind blowing out to left field. It's not like you have to pull the ball. He's strong enough he can hit the ball out to any part of this ballpark.
Moustakas swings at the first pitch and fouls it back.
That basket that take a look at the flags. Hot, humid, muggy day, wind blowing out. Anthony Rizzo took advantage early on. That line drive homer into the basket. If you're Mike Moustakas, you can go ahead and sit back and think other way. Strong enough, get the ball up in the air, it'll carry out of here.
Going right to left. And again, he spoils one. So he's down to the count, 2 strikes to Edwards. Moustakas today with 2 singles. Brewers have played from behind since the opening frame on Rizzo's 2-run home run. And Moustakas, right field, base hit. And a run will come home. Station to station for Milwaukee. It is now 7-3.
Third hit of the game for Moustakas.
See right here, Carl Edwards tries to elevate that fastball up. Contreras wants his ball up. Comes back over the plate. Called the park ranger. The Moose is loose. Mike Moustakas.
I like it. Boy, he's been so productive for Milwaukee. His third hit today. 10th RBI as a Brewer. Here's Perez. He bats for the second time today. Came in the 5th inning for Ryan Braun, who left with right rib cage tightness.
So you go back to this inning. Starts out with a Manny Pena base hit, right? And I thought the key at bat, Lorenzo Cain. Quality at bat made Carl Edwards work, throw a lot of pitches. Take a look at the Cubs bullpen. Cishek, the righty. Wilson, the lefty. Wilson, the hard thrower. Cishek, that unorthodox style, that low three-quarter, almost submarine type. Lester Strode, Cubs bullpen coach. Watching both. I think the day and age of the hat signal, which you used to see when you were down the line, is the guy ready, you would go ahead and see the guy wave the hat. But this day and age now with the cameras, I would assume Lester just picks up the phone, lets them know, hey, they're ready to go.
Jim Hickey, the pitching coach, was out to talk to Edwards. And Perez swings and misses. 95-mile-an-hour fastball. A lot of two-strike success for Milwaukee. Shall it come down to that so far this inning alone?
One of the big keys right here. Now you have to, all bets are off, down in the count. 1 ball and 2 strike. Try to get something up in the air. Last thing you want to do is hit this ball on the ground. A potential inning double play. Edwards not known as being a ground ball type, more a four-seam fastball guy. He's a strikeout pop-up type of pitcher.
Travis Shaw waits on deck. Pena reached on a 2-strike hit. Cain walked on a full count. Moustakas at 0-2, and it went down. This one's going to fall, base hit. Here comes another run home for Milwaukee, and the runners all move up, station to station. 7-4 ball game. And the go-ahead run now comes to the plate here in the 7th inning. Still only 1 down.
Much like the 4th inning for the Cubs, didn't hit the ball very hard. A couple of balls fell in. Carl Edwards right here, a breaking ball, pretty good one too. Perez hits this one off the end of the bat. It just falls in. Joe Madden out to make another trip to the mound.
Well, the Brewers putting on a big threat here, and it is not over yet. Joe Madden trying to throw water on this fire right now. Edwards goes out, pitching change is made. We'll get it straight when we come back.
Cubs, the Brewers threatening, bases loaded, one down, already 2 runs in. And now it's going to be the lefty Justin Wilson into the game to make his 52nd appearance to face the lefty Travis Shaw.
Another strikeout pitcher from the left side, 58 strikeouts in 44 2/3 innings. You take a look at that ERA of 3.22. You dive a little bit deeper into the numbers. Opponent's batting average against on the year, 199, just 32 for 161. So that ERA a little bit over 3. But if you dive into those numbers a little bit more, he's pitched some good baseball for the Cubs.
And he faces Travis Shaw. Bases loaded. And the first pitch misses for ball 1. Wilson picked up the victory Sunday in that Cubs walk-off. He stranded 2 runners in the 9th inning. And then the Cubs offense went to work for him. Now trying to protect a 3-run lead. And looked like that pitch was in the zone, but it's going to be ball 2.
Boy, this is a spot right now. If you're Travis Shaw, sit on a breaking ball. It's easier said than done from sitting up here. Count leverage in your favor. 2 balls, no strikes. Try to get the ball, lift the ball up in the air if possible. Stay away from that ground ball.
Shaw, infield pop-up. Rizzo's got it. Infield fly rule. And a tough out for Milwaukee there, but it's only out number 2. They're still alive, and the bases are still loaded.
Yeah, this is what makes it tough, too. You get the count in your favor. A breaking ball, a fastball that's up out of the zone. Get a little bit over anxious. Ball looked a little up, maybe a little bit out of the zone.
And Joe Madden back out to make yet another pitching change. So Wilson does his job. The lefty retiring Shaw will come back. Pitching change. Steve Cishek now in to pitch. The submarine throwing right-hander as he will face Jonathan Schoop, appearance number 57 on the season.
Take a look at the strikeouts. 60 strikeouts, 53 innings pitched. They do have a little bit of history. Jonathan Schoop 0 for 4 career off of Cishek. You're looking for a defining moment for Jonathan Schoop. This very well could be. Big spot if he could deliver right here.
And Schoop to left field. And it's going to be caught out there by Schwarber. Got a good swing. Took that first pitch. But the Brewers strand the bases loaded, but not before they strike for 2. As Milwaukee coming up with some big 2-strike plate appearances, now a 7-4 ball game.
catching for the Milwaukee Brewers as Manny Pena goes out. Obviously shaken up that last half inning. Out at second base on a close attempt for a double play. They tried to get the force on Pena at second, and he saw Baez coming in, and right on that left shoulder, got the leg into the side of his head and the top of his shoulder as well. He stayed in at that point and scored a run for Milwaukee, but now Kratz coming in to catch here in the 7th inning. Corbin Burns back out on the hill for his 2nd inning of relief for Milwaukee. Brewers got a couple of runs back now within 3. Almora leads off here in the 7th for Chicago. Again, very important at this point if the Brewers want to continue their comeback. Can't give up any more than those 7 runs.
So far, so good. Taylor Williams was really good. Corbin Burns out for his 2nd inning of work. This one far from over. Hot, muggy day where the ball is carrying well. Brew Crew looked like they had a big chance there with the bases loaded, 1 out. Wilson able to get Travis Shaw to pop up on that 2-0 fastball to Anthony Rizzo.
This one hit long and far left field and makes the seats into the front row for a leadoff home run as Almora belts his 5th round tripper of the season, and the Cubs get one of those runs back the Brewers scored in the top half of this frame.
What makes it so difficult when you're playing from behind. The Brewers have been playing from behind since the 1st inning. That Anthony Rizzo 2-run homer. Able to get a couple of back. The top of the 7th, and one swing of the bat. Albert Almora Jr. Little hanging breaking ball right here. Gets the barrel of it. He knows it's gone as soon as he hits it. Up in the zone. Christian Yelich, all he can do is look up. About 3 rows back.
8-4 now, Chicago. Here's Schwarber. The Cubs with 2 home runs off Brewer pitching here this afternoon. Brewers belted 4 home runs in yesterday's 7-0 victory. All the position players for Chicago with at least a hit in this game. 12 hits for the Cubs. That home run by Almora a moment ago is first at Wrigley since May 14th. Not a big home run hitter, just his 5th of the season. Brewers came into today's action after the win yesterday against Chicago in head-to-head matchup, 2 behind in the division race. And this one to Aguilar. And he takes it himself for the first out here in the 7th inning. Celebrate Lorenzo Cain's All-Star season by picking up a bobblehead in his likeness. Give it to all fans at the Cruise Series finale against the Pirates on Sunday, August 26th, courtesy of WTMJ Radio. To book your seats, visit Brewers.com. Lorenzo Cain, boy, he's playing very, very well right now. One by one, the Brewer veterans are picking up some slack here. Be nice to see when they can do it all together. Ryan Braun had been swinging a big bat, but he left earlier today with the ribcage injury. Christian Yelich was hot for a month. He's cooled off a bit here. Lorenzo Cain taking his turn at the plate there now. You get a feel if this club's going to make a run, something like that has to happen.
They were a positive sign yesterday. Trying to get Corey Knebel going. There's a good look at Christian Yelich. And Yelich and Cain have really changed the complexion of this Brewer team over the winter. If you're looking for some positives in this 2-game setup to this point, a little bit of a negative, down 8-4, bottom 7. Knebel was good yesterday. Hopefully they can right that ship. He'll make the bullpen a lot better. Pretty good breaking ball right there from Corbin Burns. And Cub hitter's very aggressive. 2-1 off-speed pitch. Take another look at it here. It's curveball. Swing mode for Contreras.
It's that late movement on that curveball.
Might not be a bad idea to flip that over again for, he could throw it over for a strike. Count leverage right now in his favor. Contreras more than likely swinging.
And he misses away in the dirt. So a 1-out walk.
That's often the separator for a guy like Corbin Burns, still trying to find his way. If you're going to throw that 3-2 breaking ball, you have to at least throw it so it's going to appear to the hitter for the longest time that it's going to be in the strike zone. That pitch right there, more of the 2-strike variety, 0-2-1-2, something down and away that you want to bounce. It's something he'll learn as he gets a little bit more dirt under his cleats.
Cishek, the pitcher, will bat, and he's trying to get Contreras over to second base. Not very often relief pitchers get a chance to bat, but this season 1 for 5, so a 6th opportunity here.
If you're Corbin Burns, it's a big shot where you really have to pay attention after you throw this and get in, take a shot and cut that lead runner down with a pitcher up. Possibility of bunting into a double play.
And a balk has been called on Corbin Burns. They're going to put Contreras into scoring position right away, and Burns is not happy with that call. Wants an explanation.
You see he's standing straight up. It's a start, and that constitutes starting his delivery. See how he was standing straight up? Hopefully we'll take another look at it. He was pretty much standing straight up, and he started to lean forward. And that lean forward constitutes the beginning, the starting of your delivery, which you're not able to do pitching out of the stretch with a runner at first base. Kind of a ticky-tack call, but nonetheless was a balk.
And now Tom Hallion comes out to the mound to explain to Burns what he did.
Well, he was kind of in that slouched over. He wasn't standing fully straight up. We'll take a look at it right here. See how he's standing kind of slouched over, then he leans over. That constitutes starting the delivery.
That was an awful lot of time to explain a balk, don't you think? I'm surprised they went out there and took as much time on the mound. Cishek now down 2 strikes. Burns began the season at AAA as a starting pitcher, and in June the Brewers decided to turn him into a relief pitcher. He'd been so effective that they thought that he could help out this Brewer team in the second half of the season out of the bullpen at the big league level, as he gets Cishek here for out number 2. And for the most part, he's been effective. Talked to him yesterday. He said he's still learning the quickness of this game and the fact that, Dan, you can't really make mistakes on this level. They'll come back to bite you, and then it's how you deal with it.
It is, and you go back to that ball call. He did let it affect him. A good fastball, 97 mile an hour to strike out Cishek. Addison Russell steps in with 2 outs.
A run home on the leadoff home run from Almora. And Contreras out at second base.
Go back to the leadoff walk to Contreras. Elected to throw the breaking ball 3-2. There's a good look at Contreras. Short lead off second base. The 3-2 breaking ball, it's not a bad pitch, but it's a pitch that you have to throw it, that at least it appears to the hitter that it's going to be into the strike zone. That breaking ball he threw to Contreras was one that was more of a strikeout type of breaking ball, one that's bouncing down and away from a righty. Contreras, that pitch never had the appearance at all as soon as it left Corbin's hand that it was going to be at all into the strike zone. An easy take and an easy walk for Wilson Contreras.
And Burns steps off. The count 1-1 on Russell. Cubs have been out in front since the opening frame, and it has been a fight for Milwaukee to stay within striking distance. They got within 7-4. They opened up this half inning, lying tight to Russell now. But Burns gave up the leadoff home run to Almora to stretch that Cubs lead back out to 4. And there's Lyles out in the bullpen for Milwaukee, starting to get loose. Both bullpens have been worked here in the second game of this series.
You know, the way this plays out right now, Craig Counsell doesn't have the opportunity to turn Jeffress or Hader loose. You do have to look. This isn't the end-all be-all last game of the season. This isn't a must-win situation. You'll have Hader, you'll have Jeffress available for a big 3-game set with the Cardinals coming up this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. As much as you try and play and win every game that you can, sometimes there are just days that you have to just say, okay, we need to rely on somebody else out of the bullpen. And so far it's been Taylor Williams. Corbin Burns throwing the ball well, gave up the home run to start the inning to Albert Almora Jr. But a positive is you'll be able to have your bullpen rested and ready to go against a Cardinal team going into today has won their last 7 games.
And this one hit to left field, and Yelich runs out of room. So that'll even the count at 2-2 to Russell. And the Cardinals playing tonight in St. Louis against the Nationals, and then tomorrow night in St. Louis against the Nationals, while the Brewers are there on the day off, waiting to play, starting their series on Friday. St. Louis had won 7 in a row going into today's action. They're just 2 behind Milwaukee in the standings, in the Central Division standings. Brewers opened up play today with a 1-game lead on that top spot of the 2 wild cards. If you have to settle for the wild card, that's the one you want because you get the home game in the playoff. And a strikeout for Burns against Russell, and finally the inning ends. A long outing in the 7th here for Burns. He gives up 1 run.
The 8th inning. And the Pittsburgh Pirates, of course, getting Chris Archer. We're hoping to stay a little closer into this race right now, and they've had a tough time putting a run together. Not out of it by any stretch yet. And Keon Broxton will bat for Milwaukee to lead off the 8th inning. Eric Kratz waits on deck. This is the first time that Broxton will bat as a pinch hitter here. He was just recalled from AAA on Monday, activated yesterday in his first appearance back with the big league club. Broxton's been up and down several times this season. Pops one up in the air in right field, and Hayward takes care of it for the first out.
Steady diet of breaking balls there from Steve Cishek. Timmy got a big out there. Bases loaded. 7th inning. Jonathan Scope flew out to medium left field. The end of the 7th inning with the bases loaded.
Now Eric Kratz will bat. He came in defensively for Manny Pena in the bottom of the 7th inning. No word if Pena left due to an injury. Kratz shoots one in the gap. That's been a hot topic for Brewer hitters today, but this time Hayward runs it down, floated up just long enough. And there are 2 down, and that's one of the reasons why this guy's a consistent Gold Glove winner.
Well, it's taken a lot of criticism for his offense, but there's never been any question about defense. A lot of people in baseball think he's the best defensive right fielder there is. Covers a lot of ground, big guy, long stride, throws well, accurate thrower. About as good as it gets in right field in Major League Baseball. You got to look at him right there, Jason Hayward.
Here's Jesus Aguilar. He's batting for the 2nd time today. Walked back in the 7th inning. The Brewers are able to manufacture a couple of runs. They did that against 4 Cubs pitchers. As we take a look at our Miller Lite What's on Tap. Friday it's going to be Freddie Peralta, then Saturday Wade Miley, and then Sunday Chase Anderson for Milwaukee in that series against St. Louis. Again, the Cardinals hot going into tonight's action, winners of 7 in a row. Aguilar goes down quickly here in the 8th inning. It is an 8-4 ball game. Cubs lead.
Post game, and Craig Counsell spent a frustrating afternoon to say the least, with his team falling behind early, trying to catch up and giving up some extra runs. Jeremy Jeffers now on the hill for Milwaukee, appearance number 56, as his team trails by 4 runs here. And got to get the big guns some work too, Dan, to keep him fresh.
Boy, what a year he's had. Look at that ERA, 1.29, one-loss record, 6-1. 63 strikeouts in 55 2/3. Well-deserved all-star in 2018 for the Brewers. Like to have a nice quick 1-2-3 inning, 10 to 12 pitches, have them set up perfectly for the next 3 days in St. Louis.
There's Baez, and he hits one foul a long ways here at Wrigley Field. Just a strike in the books.
Not a pitch that Javi Baez doesn't think that he can get to the barrel to. Very aggressive. You take a look at that average, surprising 291. 25 home runs on the year for a guy that's very much a free swinger. Did a pretty nice sell job there too on first base umpire. Looked like he went around on that friendly call.
Almost looked like he was after the call. Here's the 1-1. Baez swings at strike 2.
You know, one of the things that he's done that has made him such a good hitter now. You saw that last swing a little bit out of control, and at times he'll be prone to waving at that breaking ball. But he has a really good ability the last year or so to start minimizing the strike zone and swinging at bad pitches and running counts 1-2, and he finds a way to get back into a count.
Shattered bat, quick throw, not in time. A lot of speed going down the first base line, and Baez beats it for an infield single.
Well, one of the things he does, he plays with a lot of energy. Plays with a lot of energy in the field, and right here, a lot of hitters would have just been in disgust, but he was hustling right from the get-go. Bat shatters in half. You see the stride to beat that throw, and he beats it.
Second time Baez has been on base. He's occupying the leadoff spot. Anthony Rizzo had it for about a month, but Joe Madden decided to change things up today and put Rizzo back in that more familiar cleanup role that he's had for the majority of his career. And Rizzo answered with his first at bat with a home run. They stop by Aguilar there. They get the force, the relay in time for the double play. Well done by Jesus Aguilar. Made the stop and had to collect the ball, and they're still able to get that double play.
Super turn there by Jesus Aguilar. Big, strong guy. We talked about how agile he is for a big guy. One hot bullet. Presence of mind to get the ball to Jonathan Schoop to get the lead runner. Bang, bang play right here. Does a great job. Knocks it down. Doesn't panic. Gives Schoop a good throw, and Schoop a rocket back to Aguilar at first.
And the Cubs will challenge this call. It was a close finish at first.
I think more so they're concerned about maybe the play at second base with Jonathan Schoop on the bag. I'm not so sure it's the play at first base. It's Jonathan Schoop. It was the throw at second base. Was he on the bag when he received the throw from Aguilar?
Well, you're probably right, Dan, because that play at first, really by a half step, would not indicate a challenge.
Be a very difficult call. You're not sure if when Jonathan Schoop, when he has the ball in the glove, is that right foot dragging across the bag as the ball reaches the cylinder of the glove. We've seen this quite a bit where it's inconclusive and the call will stand. this one taking a while. They have the ability in New York at Chelsea, have a lot of different looks and angles. This would have been difficult for me if I were in Jeremy Jeffers' spot. I was always a guy, if you haven't noticed, pace, I needed to be moving. And to have a play like this where you stand around for a few minutes, here's another look at it from that high first base angle. Does the right foot come across the bag as the ball's in the cylinder?
It would appear there's no question his foot hit the bag at first, but did it with the glove on, and they're going to say safe at second base, out at first. And so the Cubs win that replay challenge there. And so runner out in scoring position, wipes out the double play, but they do retire Hayward. So one out, runner at second. Here's David Bodie. Bodie batting for the 5th time today. 2 hits for him, 2 runs scored. And this one gets past Kratz, and the runner moves up to third base. That's a big spot there with only 1 down. Sacrifice fly could score.
Another hard breaking ball here from Jeffers. This ball almost in the left-handed batter's box. A tough play for Eric Kratz to get down in front of that. He tries to just go ahead and backhand it. Runs are such a premium right now. Down by 4, bottom 8. It's a big run at third base.
Now this one into right, just foul. 4 wild pitches by Brewer pitching here in this game.
Very much a spot right now if you're Jeremy Jeffers. Infield drawn in. You would assume with the speed of Javi Baez at third base and Brian Butterfield, they're going to be sending on contact. Take a look all across the diamond. About a step off the dirt. This is where you need to try to get greedy if you're Jeffers. Go for the strikeout if you can.
And that one off of Bodie's foot. So a ball and 2 strikes.
Another good fastball right here. Good 2-seam fastball, that bearing in action. You see he fouls this right off the top of his left foot, that grimace. Might be a good time for that power split change that Jeffers has developed. Good swing and miss pitch, a good strikeout pitch for him so far this year.
Good block by Eric Kratz. With a runner at third base. It's part of the problem with some of these wild pitches, Dan. It instantly moves you into scoring position or that much further in. There have been 4 here today. It's part of the pressure you don't want to put on yourself. And a big strikeout for, I should say, yes indeed, on the 2-2 pitch, first strikeout.
Terrific sequence of pitching there by Jeffers. That is about as well located fastball as you're going to find. 1 ball, 2 strike count. Eric Kratz sitting away. 97 miles an hour right through the zone with great carry. There's a good look at it, full extension after that split finger. Tough to catch up with that if you're David Bodie.
Not even going to look at Anthony Rizzo. They give him the intentional walk right away. And now it's going to be Almora stepping up to the plate. 2 down here in the 8th inning for Chicago. Runners in the corners.
That's when you have to really be careful with Rizzo at first and Baez with speed at third base. Particularly with an inexperienced second baseman. If they send the runner to try to get in a rundown and steal a run here with Baez, really important to make sure if you're Eric Kratz, you know if you're throwing through, you're going to cut it off.
And this one gets past Kratz, and it doesn't get far enough away for Baez to score from third, but Rizzo does move up to second. It's been one of those days for the Brewer defense here today. Earlier in this inning, we saw the call get overturned out at second base. Scope couldn't get his foot in contact with the base on what would have been a double play. Balls have been hit through shifted infields. Balls have fallen over the heads of shifts. Had one error earlier in the game that cost the Brewers a run, an unearned run. One of those days defensively. It makes it tough when you're trailing and trying to fight back.
The Brewer bullpen has really had to pitch in some stressful spots. Taylor Williams came in with a couple of runners on. Same thing with Corbin Burns. Another big spot in the game right here. Base hit here would blow this one open.
Jeffress steps off. 2 balls and no strikes to Almora. This one foul again. Jeffress has been unscored upon in 48 of his 55 appearances this season. He has done a spectacular job. Earned his first All-Star appearance. Pitched in the All-Star game. Two-one. And this one into left field, and Yelich hauls it in for the final out. So Jeffress labors through this inning, but does not give up a run. On to the 9th we go. Here, but room for more now. Dan, would you ever consider going up to the rooftops even during the game? Has that ever happened?
Oh, it's happened. I was a member of the Cubs in '93, and Tom Browning lost a bet. And he had told somebody on the Reds that he would go sit up on the rooftops It was July of 1993. I remember sitting down in the bullpen. There's a picture of Tom Browning sitting up during the game.
Full uniform.
Yeah, full uni. That was part of the bet that he lost. And from what I hear, Lou Piniella, the manager of the Reds at that time, was not too pleased with Mr. Tom Browning.
I'll bet not. Especially Lou Piniella. Wow, that is an amazing picture right there. And what a story to share. I had no idea any of that could possibly happen during a ball game here. That's baseball for you, though, right?
You know, one of the beauties of this game, you'll walk through a clubhouse. As a player, anyway, game kind of enables you to be a little boy no matter how old you are. 25, 35, as long as you're playing. Even the coaches.
Strop now pitching for the Cubs here in the 9th inning, facing the Brewers in the top of the order, and Christian Yelich. It's his 49th appearance out of the Cubs bullpen. 8-4 ball game. Yelich 0 for 4. I should say 1 for 4 in this game. He had a single back in the 3rd inning. The Brewers need some base runners. They scored 2 in the 4th and 2 in the 7th. And each time they scored, the Cubs were able to answer the next inning.
It's always easy to know when he's in the game. That hat off to the side, you often see that with left-handers. I believe, partner, I even carried mine like that, but it wasn't done intentionally.
Yelich into the gap. This one is caught at the wall. And what a play out there by Ian Happ, who came in as a defensive replacement for Schwarber last inning. That's not an easy trick to do, because you are going to crash into a brick wall behind the Ivies, and there's no cushion there.
Until you've been down on the field and you're watching the game at home, you look at that ivy and it looks pretty and it looks cute. But behind that wall, that ivy, that's brick. Just what you see underneath that basket. Happ does a great job of getting back on this one right here. Feels himself where the warning track is. Catches this one right in the webbing of the glove.
High and tight to Kane, and Strop hit him. So the Brewers with a 1-out base runner here in the 9th inning.
See that fastball up and into low. Kane just off the right sleeve of the jersey. Hey, stranger things have happened. Wind blowing out. Big part of the order coming up. Moustakas, Perez on deck. Travis Shaw, Jonathan Scope waiting. A bloop and a blast and another bloop, and you just never know.
Moustakas with a very, very good game here today. He has 3 hits, including an RBI. Two home runs and 10 RBIs as a member of the Brewers. Well, the Cubs know that it's never over here at Wrigley Field. They were down on a 3-0 deficit Sunday night and somehow rallied in the 9th. 2 hit batters. Suddenly the bases were loaded. There were 2 down. And a pinch hitter in David Bodie came to the plate, and he hit the grand slam for the 4-3 win. So you never know, especially here. Of all ballparks in the major leagues, this is the one.
And one of the things, the Cubs, Brandon Morrow, free agent they signed from the Dodgers, has been pretty good closing games out. They're hopeful to get him back soon. Pedro Strop taking over the 9th inning role, that closer role, stopper role for the Cubs.
There's Chris Bryant. Expecting him back at some point, perhaps before August is up. Brewers hoping to get a big addition if they can from Zach Davies if he continues his rehab. Matt Elvers also out on a rehab assignment as well, so potentially a starting pitcher and more bullpen help. Big question is getting these guys in repetition and getting them in game shape to be effective.
You know, that's the key right now. Zach Davies has missed quite a significant amount of time at the big league level. It's a really tricky, dicey thing when you send guys down on minor league assignments. They desperately miss what he brings to the table, quality arm.
And Moustakas rips this one into right, and Hayward there to pick it off.
Another terrific play by Jason Hayward. We saw him play the gap in right center field, and this one down the line. Excellent job reading this off the bat. This ball was scorched by Moustakas. He made this look relatively easy. We've seen him go towards the gap in right center field, and this one he had right from the get-go. A fine play by Jason Hayward.
Two good defensive plays here in this inning against Milwaukee hitters. So Moustakas retired. And here's Perez. Perez came in the 5th inning when Ryan Braun left with the ribcage injury. Manny Pena also left today's game. And no word from the clubhouse yet if that was just a straight-up substitution. He did have what appeared to be a shoulder injury on the bases. And Perez strikes out. And this one over today from Wrigley. The Cubs struck in the opening frame and never looked back against Milwaukee. The Brewers fought but could not draw this game even and lose it 8-4. And Dan, it was great to have you with us here the last couple of days. Brewers got a win for you yesterday and a tough 8-4 loss here today, but some good insight. We appreciate it.
Much appreciated. On to St. Louis for a big 3 games for you and Bill Schroeder to be back behind the microphone. A lot of baseball left to be played. You'd like to get greedy after winning game 1 of this series. Yoeli Chacin was so good on Tuesday. It is what it is. Off to St. Louis Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
All right, best to you and the rest of the work at the MLB Network here for the rest of the season. We'll all be watching, and Brewers Live postgame is set on the way here. Let's send it to the studio now, and Dario Melendez.